order, March 16th, 2026. Would someone like to read the mission statement, please?
I could read it.
Okay.
The mission of Falmouth Board of Health is to protect and promote the health, safety, and well-being of residents and visitors of the town of Falmouth. Primary functions of the board to achieve our mission are to prevent, control disease, enforce state and local regulations, promulgate local regulations, identify and protect from environmental hazards, and advocate for a healthy community.
All right, thanks, George. And is anyone recording other than the recording secretary and the chair? I mean, the health agent?
And FCTV.
And FCTV, thank you. All right, and a brief statement on rules of behavior. Thank you to members of the public for attending this meeting. Public comments will be allowed at the discretion of the chair as time allows and will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Before providing comments, please state your full name. All comments must be delivered in a manner that respects others. And does anyone on the board or in the audience have any comments on items not on the agenda? Okay, let's go to our first item, vote a new board chair. Do we have a nomination
I hereby nominate
motion?
Jed Goldstone to be the chair of the Board of Health going forward.
All right, do we have a second? Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Congratulations.
I can't
All
oppose
yours.
it. All right. Thank you. That was regularizing our, yes, it wasn't on our agenda last time, so we're regularizing our
Discuss.
vote. Our next agenda item is, are you, all right, Scott? Yeah, okay. Our next agenda item is 2 Solar Way, which is continued from last month, earlier in the month. Building permit application, room determination and variance request from, for the requirement of an IA system for an increase to flow if so determined.
So I'll just start to start with this. So there was the building permit application plan, which I determined to be an increase in flow, primarily due to the fact that it meets the definition of a bedroom. It actually would work more as an in-law suite. But so I look at building permits every day and make a call on whether they would be a suitable privacy to be considered a bedroom, and which our new regulation, it is in a nitrogen-sensitive area. So I notify the applicant that it would need an IA system based on your regulation because it's an increase in flow. The septic system itself, the good news is the septic system itself was built so that the leach field's not an issue. It is a 4-bedroom septic and it is a 3-bedroom home. That permit went in about 2002. And so they have a 4-bedroom septic and a 3-bedroom home, but as your regulations are an actual increase in flow, the building permit is an actual, because they're actually going to construct the bedroom, would require the IA. And this one was tricky because the applicant has something that 99.997% of the population doesn't have. They already have an existing composting toilet. So if you remember that, there was a composting toilet, which right now doesn't have a urine diversion system and a composting toilet, if I remember correctly. But it doesn't, right now the state doesn't have a recognition of that. And in addition, you had asked a couple questions, which I had sent the applicant. Okay. And the questions was, is the proposed toilet part of the composting such as a vacuum, or would it be standard? And it'll be a standard. And what happens, your other question was what happens to the compost waste? And she had written, I have an annual maintenance on the composting toilet done by Nutrient Network. Any compost that comes out is buried on site, 6 inches of soil. Liquid is pumped back over the compost periodically. So those are the 2 questions that you had, and I'll just wanted to give you guys some background.
Thanks. So we've had composting toilets since we built the house in 2002. Both toilets that are currently in the house are composting. So the septic system has only had gray water in it. Showers, laundry, dishwash, that sort of thing. So no solids. And yeah, the packet did also include, I'm part of a study which does test the nitrogen levels, so I did include that as well.
Thank you. I have a question actually for Scott. We just approved a 6-bedroom system for either a 3 or a 4-bedroom house in anticipation of them building more bedrooms. So how is it different to have a 4-bedroom septic system that on a 3-bedroom house?
Don't recall the address you're talking about.
I'm not remembering either. Was
They
it
did
was it an
ask
IA
for-
system?
It was a bigger
might-
system, but I don't think they were current.
Okay, so I think I can
They
answer.
weren't currently proposing.
No,
but
I think
they-
I can answer your question. So you can build a septic larger,
Right.
right? So you could build a 6-bedroom septic for a 3-bedroom home if you had an existing 3-bedroom home. It's not an increase in flow, but when the building permit gets to be pulled for
Yeah.
any future increase, that's when they would need to put the IA in,
Right.
right? So similar situation, if I was putting a septic system in my house today, I'd probably put it for 9 bedrooms. I don't want to have to touch that again, right? So you put a lot, we had this conversation prior to you voting on the regulation was, what triggers it? So it's an actual increase, the building permit to add that bedroom, because you might have to add to your leaching or not. Or a septic permit, you can design for overcapacity as long as the design data shows it as let's say 3,
Right.
but you build a 440 system. So in her case, her leach field doesn't need to be touched, right? This 4th bedroom, so let's take out your regulation that you just did. If this was normal, we see this all the time. You have a 3-bedroom home, she pulls a permit prior to the regulation. You have a 4-bedroom septic, I'm going to allow that bedroom to be built. Now that you have an IA requirement, now you're actually increasing flow because you're adding the bedroom. Your requirement is to now have the IA. Does that make sense? So it's the building permit or a design plan that shows an increase in flow. Meaning I'm requesting the engineer putting under the design data, I am now wanting more bedrooms. So those are the 2 triggers. So,
Scott,
So
okay, sorry.
sorry.
last meeting, a lot of the discussion was about, well, what are the implications of having the composting toilet and then the added new toilet that's not composting for nitrogen loads? And our current regulation requires installation, as you know, of a denitrifying system with an increase in flow. And those need to meet 10 milligrams per liter. So 19 was an old number.
Okay.
At this point, we're at 10. And so the reason we asked you the follow-on questions about what's done with the solids, what's done with the liquids is, if with a composting toilet, those materials were actually removed from the property and taken to a facility where they were going to be processed, disposed, that sort of thing, then that would be a nitrogen removal technology. If everything is going to stay on the property, then there isn't clear evidence that there's actual nitrogen removal happening. The liquids go back onto the solids, and then the solids get buried on the property. All that nitrogen will stay put, except for any that might volatilize away as ammonia. I don't know how much that might be. But even without any wastewater going into the septic system now, correct? Even the liquid doesn't go into the septic system. It's already at 14. Was it-
Theirs is at 9. The
9.
similar system is at 15.
Oh, 14, okay.
Yeah.
So you're there on the gray water by itself. But if adding wastewater to that, it's pretty much certain that that would go above 10 milligrams per liter. And furthermore, because the composting toilet, the process for managing that includes keeping all the material on the property, that nitrogen's not being removed either. So what we were thinking is, if a person had composting toilets only on their property, and the material were removed and taken by a reputable hauler somewhere else and processed or used for fertilizer, that would be a lot of nitrogen removal. And I think this board would be open to a discussion of, well, maybe that could meet our requirements for nitrogen removal.
So there is an option with nutrient networks that they will take
Okay,
it off-site. I just haven't used that in the past.
okay,
Liquids and solids.
Yeah,
okay. Do you know what they do with it?
I do not. I could find out and report back.
Yeah, that would be very informative.
Yeah.
And I think our first question was also wondering, it wasn't quite posed this way, but we were wondering if you considered a composting option for that new system as well, for the new toilet.
It's on, so my current system is all gravity driven, and this is obviously on the
Yeah.
basement walkout, and so it's a little bit more complicated. I did look at incinerating toilets as well.
How about a vacuum flush toilet? Because in the demonstration project in Falmouth, there were 2 of those. They were in the basement, and they just went right into the unit.
Could you tell me, what were the names of those vacuum ones? Do you know? Is it the Worst House?
Oh, no. They were definitely like the same technology as they use on ships.
Oh, okay.
But I know there's one out at our test center now that is flush toilet. I don't know the brand name of it, but
Okay.
I use it quite frequently. And it carries it over to a composter, which is 30 feet away, and it's
And
not
does it go
gravity.
actually up and?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't been there, so
So I think, the chair allows?
Yeah.
I think that we're in kind of a quandary here because our regulation says it should be on the banner list. Has no credits right now at all with DEP for nitrogen removal. So if we were to allow it, and you acquiesce to a flush toilet that would take it into that composter, in order for us to sort of call it equivalent, it would be like a pilot.
okay.
So we would require monitoring for at least 2 years on a monthly basis of that gray water to see whether it was still below 10 milligrams per liter.
What,
Even if the gray water is 0,
It's not zero.
even if it
Oh,
were.
sorry, okay.
And you're taking everything out of the composting toilet and putting it in the yard.
You're not.
No, she would
was
be.
Well,
talking
they are
about-
now.
They are now, but.
They are now, but
So
that
unless
would,
that also changed.
of course,
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine,
every, the
Yeah.
residuals,
yeah. As a
Would have
point
to
of
be managed.
information,
Yep, I
because
understand.
I've never heard of it, there is a vacuum flush toilet on the website of the Phoenix.
Okay, thank you. May I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've recently started urine diverting, just on a small scale, through the Rich Earth Institute, with their little setup in the bathroom. So is that considered, like, would urine diverting itself be another way to, like, if I were to get a system that worked within the Phoenix for urine diversion, and then that was processed, is that a way to meet the same,
the same as meaning, you would.
whatever the nitrogen
Whatever
level?
the as long as the residuals, pee, poop, compost, leave the site, then it would meet that requirement. However, the board cannot recognize the particular urine diversion you're talking about because it isn't accepted by DEP right now. We had a project like that in the town where people were collecting them in the pods, we'll call them. And the board was reprimanded by DEP for allowing that because it's transport without, I mean, Rich Earth, I don't believe, unless it's through the company up in Boston, are not allowed to actually remove that urine out of the house and transport it. I know there's a company, what's the name of it? It's out of Boston. Wasted, thank you. That is licensed.
Okay.
By the Department of Agriculture,
Yep.
and they can come and take it. But as long as the residuals would leave the property, we can monitor the gray water on a sufficient basis to understand that it meets the Banner standard.
Right.
we could look at as probably sort of a pilot
Yeah, I mean,
project within the town.
we can always
because-
vary our own regulations, so we can amend our own regulations too, if we think of it.
Well,
I think conducting it as a pilot makes sense, though.
Yeah.
To,
Do you think it's, do you think monthly is I mean, that,
Monthly is what you would do
do
for a pilot. So we've talked about a number of things, getting, moving everything
Right.
off-site, all the residuals. We talked
Yep.
about monitoring. So would you be amenable to that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So,
I guess I would like to be sure that I understand exactly what you
oh,
want
I'll read the
monitored.
list.
he'll read it.
yeah,
I motion that we approve the composting system in lieu of a nitrogen-reducing system on site and to determine it's equitable to the best available technology finding, with the following conditions. Primary dwelling shall use an approved composting toilet, which you already have. I believe you have a Phoenix.
Yes,
Installed and maintained in accordance with manufacturer's record. A maximum of one conventional flush toilet will be permitted, but we adjusted that to something like a vacuum flush. Well, you can get information from that if you
Yeah.
call out to the
yeah, I'll talk to.
test center.
Yeah,
No liquid discharge or leachate from the composting toilet shall be directed or enter into the on-site system. Gray water from the single conventional toilet shall discharge only to the compost unit. The property owner shall maintain a service contract with the septic hauler or approved contractor for the removal of the residuals. Monthly sampling of the septic tank effluent, just total nitrogen, shall be conducted for a period of 24 months. Analytical results will be submitted to the Board of Health within 30 days of that. If the monitoring exceeds 10 milligrams per liter total nitrogen, or if the composting toilet is not properly maintained, the board may require the installation of a nitrogen-reducing on-site system as listed by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and a deed restriction shall be recorded with registry of deeds limiting the dwelling to the approved number of bedrooms and plumbing fixtures and required continued operation maintenance.
okay.
Anything like that? Anything?
Second.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just sort of doing some calculations in my mind.
Yeah.
It would be, I'm assuming that it would be amenable to you that I keep submitting the same, since I'm part of this pilot, that I also submit the same results for monitoring of the,
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Those would be submitted, I think that our IA systems are tracked through the county system, so you'd be reporting that to the county system.
Okay.
You get somebody to take the sample.
Yes, okay,
Yeah,
but I
so-
could use the same, like.
Yeah, there's no,
Okay.
don't double up on this.
Yeah. That would be very cost prohibitive.
Yeah, that would, and
It's,
unnecessary, I think, yes. Okay.
and just to be clear, I mean, I think everyone on the board appreciates what you're doing. I think it's pushing the envelope on how to solve the problem, and it could be quite a bit lower cost, so,
Yeah, that's,
yeah,
Yeah,
it's necessary. I mean,
yeah.
no, I know, and I think we would really like the DEP to start recognizing a lot of these innovative alternative systems
Yep.
that aren't the very, very technology, or different technology heavy, if you wish.
right.
right, and if we can demonstrate this is effective, we can share those data.
Yes.
It's one pilot, but it's data.
Right,
With the
Yep.
EP.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
right, oh, we got to vote.
yeah.
Sorry,
It's okay.
formalities.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
Great, thank you.
And it sounds like George has a nice
Yeah.
Written
full
document,
written document,
To you.
which he'll,
can go to the homeowner as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, they're getting.
Well, we're going to write a formal letter and
he'll
send
write,
it to you.
Scott will write you a formal
Okay,
letter, so.
great, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is Jack and the Beanstalk, variances from the plastic reduction regulations.
I'm just putting your stuff up. If you want to talk here, it's up to you, but I put your stuff up over here.
What do we do?
Was that?
This is the plastics.
This is the plastics.
Jack.
So if you want, talk here too.
Right, so just state your name for the record, please.
Aku Patel.
So you're seeking a number of different variances. Is it just
Looks like 4 products.
4 products? I'm going to let you lead on this. You read it better than I do.
Right. Hi, Aku.
Hi, Davey.
So we got a 2-sided sheet with 4 items in yellow. Is that the right summary? Okay. Do you want to just take us through what they are real quick?
The first one is the containers that we use for the cookies and for the takeout salad.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and that's a number 6 plastic.
Yep.
Right.
You're on the front page.
The
on the
group with
second
3,
Yeah.
with the brick of 3 at the top.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Doesn't that say number 5?
It's, well, he wrote number 6 here. The number 5, he's showing the comparative cost, so
Oh, I see.
the number 6 that he buys right now is $52. The replacement in number 5 is $110, correct?
Gotcha.
Yes. The second one and the third is the platters that we use. Now, we were using plastic, bottom and top. I managed to find the aluminum bottom, but the top is still, number 6 plastic on the top.
Right.
I called the company, they said, this is what it is.
It's this or saran wrap,
Yep.
buddy?
Well,
Okay.
yeah. I did look into getting cardboard boxes. It's, a box of 100 is $368.
Wow.
That's, yeah,
As opposed to?
as opposed to what I'm using right now. It's
Probably a
$32.
factor of 10.
Yeah,
That's a surprising and significant difference.
yeah, I looked at Restaurant Depot, a couple other places, Amazon.
Right,
Restaurant Depot was the cheapest for the size that I'm looking for,
yeah.
and
Do you need a certain weight too, so this is a really heavy-duty
Yeah.
cardboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because, you hold 7 subs. 7 subs is a lot of weight.
Well,
So even, for the big platter, I'm still trying to find a white one, that I can use.
right. For the first item, the cookies and takeout salads, we've talked the salads to death, and I get that the salad shaking is real. The cookies, is there a box option with a window, or?
I am looking for it, but again, it's the cost.
Okay.
Like I found one with number 5 plastic, and the cost is $110. So that's literally doubling, a little over double than what I'm
Right.
paying
Yeah.
For how many?
for
So,
the first one.
yeah, $52 or $110 to buy how many of them?
Box of 200.
$0.55 a piece.
Yeah.
It's done.
Right.
It's still, it adds up, and if it's a double.
I mean, we go through 4
Still
boxes
5 cents.
a week.
No, I understand, but you don't,
No, it's not 5 cents, it's 25. Yeah.
either way. It's important that we get the numbers relative to something as opposed to just a
Right.
quantity.
So if I could ask, how many products have you been able, over the last, whatever it's been, 2 or 3 years that you've been engaged on this, how many products have you been able to find substitutes for that?
Of quite a few things. Managed from black to switching over to white plastic. Then I found the platters, what else? I am looking for alternative things like, but again, it's the cost that I look at, and then that just kind of puts me down.
Right. And I'm guessing that you've copied these pages, but there's many more pages probably of this, because you guys probably have lots of products that.
Well, one was the deli bags that I forgot to put in here, but I think we talked about it in the last
With
meeting.
Stop and Shop?
No, the deli bags for the meats.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, Stop and Shop was here asking that same
Yeah.
question.
Right, but that's already written into the,
And the answer
Right.
was?
the answer is, it's already written into the regulation, the deli bags are,
Yes.
there just isn't any options.
That's kind of in the film
Yeah, right.
category, yeah. Yep,
And then is it the donut?
six-pack
The
donut.
six-pack donut. There's only one company that I can get it from, and unfortunately, they are number 6.
And I guess again, those are pretty greasy. I was like, cardboard with a window. I mean, greasy in
you'll
a
break
really
them.
delicious way.
And the benefit of having the six-pack donut is you line them up, so
Yeah, they're
you're
up
not
on
breaking
end.
them, versus laying them flat, you will break them, because they are soft.
Right,
Right.
right.
I did try to use a different container and see if I can change it. It didn't work.
Right.
Especially when they are fresh, they tend to,
Hot.
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I do appreciate the fact that you've made efforts in a lot of these. And it's, until we fix the supply chain, it's just going to continue to be.
And trust me, Amy, I just recently got the new pricing, and it's not good. It's like they just, like, you ask them, they're like, you want it, take it. That's the price you're gonna pay.
Is there reduced competition out there, do you think, for
It's
some
hard
of
to
the
get,
suppliers?
hard to get supplies.
I see.
You're talking about the existing things that you already
Existing things, they just keep
Yeah.
going up and up. Like aluminum
These
pans
products might
just went
continue.
up by $4 a case recently.
Right.
Jack.
Yes.
So, Amy, what's the best solution in your mind for the carry-out bag? So, we wanted to get away from the film, cheap throwaway plastic bags that go out by the thousands. What's the best substitute for that?
Well, we already have a ban on them by
Yeah,
thickness.
that's already, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to have,
But here's what I'm getting at is, I think there's an incentivization to use a slightly heavier bag, plastic bag.
to get over, yeah.
To me, doesn't seem to really be an improvement,
Right.
right? It's just
Something-
more plastic, right? And mostly people, if people reused them a bunch of times, then yeah, that would be great, but I would guess.
Can I
yeah,
say
go ahead.
something? I did switch over to the 50.5 mil, whatever it
I
is.
think 3 mil or something was the
Yes.
limitation, yes.
It's costing me almost 18 cents per bag. But I do have a lot of customers that actually bring those bags back.
Do they?
They come in, they'll have 3 or 4 in the same bag, and when they come in, they drop it, and then you just use them. And I think usually they get 10, 15 uses out of one bag.
They don't fly like the other one.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And they are sturdy.
It is a culture shift, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's nice, that's good information.
And I do have paper options, so,
Oh, you
some
do? Okay.
customer says,
That's good.
I want paper bag, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And for takeout, like carry-out doggy bag situation, people are not supposed to put it in a bag unless the customer specifically requests it. If you've ordered a big pile of takeout, oftentimes that will be pre-bagged. Most people are using paper, not all people, but that's the
Yeah. Yeah.
preferred option.
Yeah. It's good that you have a paper option too.
Yes.
And
We always had
curious,
that.
What's the price of the paper versus the heavier plastic, do you know?
So, the 25-pounder bag of 200 bags is right now $55.
Paper.
That's the paper.
Paper bag, yeah.
Right.
How does that compare to the heavier plastic?
I'm gonna have to figure out what my cost.
I
So
mean,
that comes out $27 for 150.
Sorry, and what was the first number?
55.
Oh, 50
for 200.
For 200 paper
yes.
bags, yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
because now in paper, you can get the cheaper quality too. But for us, because we put groceries in there, we have to have the heavy duty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
And between the heavy duty and the light one, it's a difference of like $20-something.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
No? Well,
Okay, so I'll like to make a motion to approve these 4 waiver requests for Jack and the Beanstalk, understanding that they've made efforts to find substitutes for all of these, as well as other products where they've been successful in that effort, and just encourage you to keep working on it.
I'll keep working.
is there a second?
1 second.
A motion, a second to approve the waiver requests for the plastic use. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Abstain.
Thank you, guys.
Abstention.
Thank you.
Right,
Can we discuss this, having now voted on it, the general principle?
yep.
I need help thinking about cost, because everything is, if something costs, it was, I believe, for 200 units, it was $50 more. So depending on what is in that unit, that fractional, that difference of the container is an incredibly small fraction of the product. Or it can be a very large fraction of the product.
Yeah.
If you're selling a popover that's almost all air versus you're selling his delicious donuts, by the way, which I don't consider greasy, which are very dense, but they're $5 or $6. So how do I, just saying, oh, they cost twice as much.
Right.
To me, that hasn't said anything useful.
Well, and in truth.
And I know that, it's he can think about it as the cumulative cost, but it's really the per item cost if you are selling. It's not the cumulative. I mean, yes, of course, it's both. It depends, but it just seems arbitrary to say, oh, it costs twice as much. Well, yeah.
So you're suggesting it would be more useful to look at the fractional increase in cost as a percentage of the cost of the item it's going to be in?
That might be a way. That would be incredibly complicated, unfortunately, because he's probably putting 10 different, or somebody's going to be putting 10 different things in the same container.
Each of these is
Yeah.
specific, though.
Cookies and salads,
But I just think doing it this way, everybody can come in here and say, well, it costs more. And that adds up. But he already told us his costs are going up fractionally much more, having nothing to do with this. And that's exactly what we heard when we had the open meeting about this stuff from lots of the vendors. It's, oh, everything costs so much more now, having nothing to do with the plastic regulation. And so I just think we need some kind of quantitative way of thinking about cost and not just saying,
I think, we're still in the first year of this. We're
I
still seeing all the
understand.
variances. And so what we'll be able to do next year is somebody coming in and they're going to maybe say, well, it actually only costs $25 more for 200 units or something like that. Maybe.
well, this is
Or I've been able to reduce the number of variances requests or waiver requests from 4 down to 2. And I feel that's our intention, is to make this not a blank wall that people are running into, but something that everybody can adapt to.
Yeah, but on the first cut, I understand what you're saying. I feel uneasy about sort of being, well, yeah, that sounds right, twice as much. That's a big jump, but you're right. There's got to be some objective way to evaluate You know, even if it comes down to that's a grocery bag, or say there's got to be $20 worth in every grocery bag, what does that add to a $20 order? And is it worth that to eliminate the plastics that go in the bag for that order? So, no, I think it would be worth the board to consider some quantitative measure that we could say, oh, yeah, well, because as you're right, twice as much. It's meaningless without a reference point.
Right. I mean, what Kevin mentioned was what I was thinking of, and if that wouldn't be that hard to do.
No, I don't think
We
that
could ask people to give us that number and choose not to act on it for a while
Yeah.
in a very strict way. And I want to emphasize, I brought this up after we voted on this thing.
Yeah, no.
It's not a criticism of him, but it's I just think we need a much more, a real quantitative measure, otherwise it's just a meaningless thing.
And it's also an important thought exercise for those going through it, and changing this form might facilitate that exercise better. So we
Yeah.
put product cost in there, but not packaged product cost, what.
Yes.
and-
Retail.
Right.
Right, of
Yeah.
a
The
yes.
typical
Per
use
unit.
of this item. So if
Yeah.
we did, and that's part of what this year is about, right? Making
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of it better.
Right.
And so I can see an improvement to this form that would bring about that level of thinking, which might put it in perspective right away for the user, like, oh, that really isn't, it feels like a lot. And I get it, because when you're ordering your supplies, that's what you're doing, right? And you're ordering tons of different things, and that tally sheet is changing significantly, and you don't run your business in a way that links every one of those purchased products to what you sold it at, right? You run it on, this is my total money out for these supplies, this is my total money in for the things I'm selling. And so,
They're separated.
exactly, and so linking on that one-to-one basis that we're asking for is a little harder, but if we put that exercise in here, we can think about it, but so can folks as they prepare this.
Sure, so what would be the price range of something stored in that container?
Right,
The
right.
salad, I mean,
Is
how
this
much does a salad
A
cost?
$1 item or a
Right.
$10 item going
Yeah.
in this package. Yeah, and for those trays, for instance, those are big trays, if they've got 7 subs on them,
Yeah,
you know.
that's a good chunk of change.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, the other thing is, on this particular one, is the intention product cost and quantity, I'm just,
Yes.
he wrote
It's not-
quantity on hand.
Right, so I think he meant you would use gross or whatever, 4 packages of 200 or whatever, I would imagine is what he
Okay.
means.
Yeah, so we should
I ordered them
make
in
sure
this
that we do
quantity. Yes.
product cost, or per
Yes.
unit cost,
unit.
or a
Because-
unit size, maybe.
Yeah.
If we're talking about some modifications here, just because, he had to specify that it's $52 for 200 versus
Yeah, looks like he wasn't
$36
sure.
for 100, and things like that. And so that, just clarifying those, I think. would help.
And the unit isn't a case.
Right.
Because that's
Yeah,
not helpful.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I wasn't here the last time, so I missed the discussion, but reading what Stop and Shop submitted, basically all they did was write down what's in the regulation and say, we've looked and we've met these things, and then they listed what's in the regulation. Maybe they said a lot more than that at the meeting.
Yeah,
but
their
they
submission was
didn't-
actually really complicated.
There wasn't, there was really no information in what they gave us. It was a regurgitation, a copy paste of the regulation in different order, saying we looked and these are the things you said are exceptions, and we ran into those 4 things.
Yeah, I think they were trying to figure out, and this is tricky for some people, the difference between waiver items and variance items, and they were working through where the waivers were using the language of the regulation. Like, so these are waivers.
But they did that, and I don't know what's a good idea for this. I mean, as
It's hard. It's really
as
hard.
you once said, how many plastic forks are in a soccer field?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just, you know.
What if life's imponderables?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, actually, it's quite easy to sort out, but it's the point is it's a lot.
Right, and I mean, we don't want to go backwards with things.
Right.
You know, and so like when Stop and Shop was asking about the rotisserie chicken bags, those are a huge improvement over the old plastic containers that they used to have. And yes, they're not a plastic that we want to see, but we talked about it a lot in the committee. Like, we don't want to go the other direction. And so it's not hugely easy to quantify or find a linear path forward on, because each use case is so different and the options are so different. But I think you're making some really good points about ways in which we can improve it. And that really is what this year is all about.
Scott, how many businesses have you gotten a form like this from? 5 or 500?
Well, we don't, a lot. So a percentage of the 200 and so on permits, I would say more than, probably 2/3.
So, okay.
At least,
So we may not need to wait a year before we have a meeting where we talk about what you've seen. It sounds like you're getting a lot. I mean,
Well, we got them all, so to just interrupt, so all food permits had to be submitted by December 15th and issued. So during the application process, which is during the fall, they all filled out the form as part of their food service permit application. And so I would say just about every establishment gave us something. You know, and most, if it was done by waiver, that's one thing. If it's done by variance, that comes here.
Right.
And most things could be done by waiver, so.
But even those we're going to want to hear about, so we know what we've done.
In aggregate, but we don't, I mean, we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are handwritten, so they're not easy for necessarily to get a.
The other thing I was going to bring up.
I'm just saying, it's not like it's like I can just move things around on the computer. Like, we're gonna have to manually sort of come up and say what the top 10, and if you want us to do a summary, we can.
I mean,
At some point, if you want me to do a summary of what we found this year, sure. You know,
I mean, part of what you're talking about is the reason I was asking him, how many things did you find substitutes for? Because this is in isolation, and I don't know, were there 100 other things
Yeah.
that
Right.
they successfully found
Yeah.
substitutes for, in which case this is no big deal, you know?
Right.
Right, it's all about making real
So-
meaningful progress.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the answer we got was a lot.
Right.
okay, so this is real,
But I don't know what that means. I have no idea.
so this is an issue in markets, grocery stores and markets. It's not an issue for a restaurant that has one takeout container or 2 different types of takeout containers. Take all the restaurants out, that's not a big deal. Maybe McDonald's, you know how they had to come because they have a very standard program. This is really the Windfall Shaw's Jack and the Beanstalk issue, because it's a problem for them, because they have so many different types of containers. So really, those are the complicated ones. Everybody else is relatively easy. So it's just the markets.
There was a much smaller number of variance requests from Stop and Shop than I expected.
Oh, it was a boatload of waiver requests.
Yeah.
Right, so you only saw the variance requests, not the waivers.
Still making more progress than most towns.
Yeah.
it's true.
Well, I think the line in the sand was, are you not going to allow plastic, which really does
Shake them up.
rough up the food establishments? Or you try to work some slow, the sort of meandering regulation, that's what we ended up choosing, which otherwise, you're not going to Dunkin' Donuts and getting iced coffee tomorrow, because or going to Coffee O because you're not going to get a lid.
Right.
Right.
Which then, I'm just picturing everybody driving down the road in Falmouth, and the accidents go up 300% because everybody's trying to hold their hot coffee without the plastic lid. Yeah, so,
All right.
it's complicated.
Okay, in the interest of trying to keep on time, let's move to the next item, is Smart Citizens Task Force update to the board regarding the Purple Air Monitor Grant and a discussion of the sulfur oxide monitoring.
Good evening. My name is Bob Morris. I'll lead off for SMART. First, we owe you folks a thank you for standing in for us and with the DEP to get some of these purple air monitors. At this point, you can Google purple air monitor map, and you'll see, I think, 4 of the monitors up and running in Woods Hole. That's a start. We've got 2 or 3 more to go. One problem is that the AAA monitors are only measuring particulate matter. And I believe you have a report from The Guardian that talks about sulfur dioxide, I believe. So Nat's going to talk about that a little bit. But we're also working with the town manager, and Doug Brown may have spoken too, with Steamship on as far as getting monitors on their property. As we put these things out, we're learning about them, and we have one on Railroad Ave right now, and depending upon the wind, you can either see them get spiked or not get registered at all on wind direction and wind speed too, because a light wind allows this stuff to disperse where it is, and a strong wind just blows it right by, we believe. Anyway, so one of the big things personally for me is that everybody's complaining about the new building down there, and where they're queued in line, they can't see Woods Hole. Well, we can't see Woods Hole either, so good luck. It would be nice if the steamship would put up an interactive sign showing when the next ferry is leaving, and relate that to idling. Okay, shut off your engines, boat doesn't leave for 20 minutes. Okay. And as I say, you can't even see the boats coming in at this point from this new queuing line. Anyway, with that, I think Nat would like to talk a little bit about the sulfur monitors, which we're hoping there's some embarkation fee money from the town to support.
Do you have any idea if the idling thing is improved at all? Because when we met with the select board, they implied that they thought it had a lot.
I honestly don't think a thing has been done down there. I think the signs that are there were there 20 years ago up at the Crane Street Bridge. They have some signs on the shacks,
Well, they implied there was an officer there.
Right.
Or maybe I inferred it, but I think...
Something, but about the officer, what the officer's doing.
Oh, the officer. You mean
if he's actually affected the idling.
Right, okay.
They're too busy doing other stuff.
Yeah, there is an officer now, and he's helping with circulation and safety issues, but what I think you recall from the joint meeting was that we had asked for improved signage. I don't know that we've really got it.
Okay. And he's not asking people to turn their engines.
You can't really, because you can't keep running from vehicle to vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's not effective for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Nat Trumbull, Smart Citizens Task Force. Thank you very much to the board and the select board the other February 9th for having raised this to us important topic of the impact on our health of air quality in Woods Hole Village associated with the Steamship Authority. So in addition to the Purple Air monitor small network that, again, thanks to this board for having offered to apply to MASSTC and for having received the 5 sensors, which Scott passed on.
Get you guys speak up.
Well, I'll fill in the pie. I did cover that. We got a grant for that. I think a few meetings ago.
Yeah.
Yep, you told us.
So what I handed out a list of, we started with about 25 possible sites that we, as we brainstormed, and our thinking was get a variety of compass directions from, in addition to the prevailing southwest wind, and to some extent, some range of distances to, closer is going to have a stronger signature, but some cases, where people are living is further away, somewhat further away. So then we've had the requirement of a Wi-Fi signal and some form of outlet for running the units. So actually, our best find so far has been on Railroad Ave, just because it's both directly behind the southwest wind and so close to the terminal. We should be done another 2 or 3 weeks, and the huge convenience of the purple air monitoring system is anyone can go to the map, and if you just search for purple air and map, you can zoom in on Woods Hole, and you'll see each of the sites of each sensor, and generally the last 7 days of data points. This is all fine and well and really interesting, and you may remember in the past we've presented our interpretation of being able to actually follow one of the more polluting boats, the Island Home, as it comes and goes through the terminal, and we've seen the peaks and valleys in the particulate matter 2.5 signature. But as we're learning more, and that as the Guardian story tipped us off to, there are other pollutants that can be with equally negative health impacts, and whether that be sulfur oxides, as the Guardian article indicated, from especially prevalent or an issue in ports, or nitrous oxides, actually something called superfine particles. Actually, I learned a lot from at least one vendor who's selling equipment that is picking up on much finer than PM 2.5, and potentially with much harsher consequences for as those particles embed themselves in our lungs and in our bodies. So we've made some initial calls, and I'll be the first to thank Allison Langone, who's been our contact at MASSTC. She said, we've worked with these vendors, and some cities have had really a lot of success, including the city of New Bedford, with a whole network of sensors that they've established. I've looked at the website, and there are like a dozen sensors they've got around the city, each with a number of different parameters. So these are higher end units than the purple air units, and that the recommended vendors have been proposing to us. Our interest was piqued the other day when at the select board meeting, when Chair Muscali turned to Peter Johnson-Staub and asked, might there be funds available for a more permanent installation or other solutions for air monitoring in Woods Hole Village? And I was going to read Peter's response, but my recollection is that there may be $50,000 to $100,000 available from the embarkation fee, assuming the revenue stream of $400,000 to $500,000 continues. And at some point, that seems that number would be going up even. So, as I understood the conversation, which you were all present at, you might be considering possible suggestions for purchasing either equipment or a contract with a vendor, which actually is something Allison Langone with DEP actually highly recommended. She said it's one thing to put up an expensive piece of equipment, but it's another to have someone supporting it over time. Which raises one last question. This is where might a piece of, these are at this point kind of stations, where might that be sited? And I checked in with Town Manager Renshaw this afternoon. He hasn't quite asked Alex Kriska, the new GM, General Manager of the Steamship Authority, if the steamship would support a station like that. And I think we should ask if the steamship would actually be interested in paying for this. There's also the perspective the steamship should be doing this at all 5 of its ports. So that, again, is probably a different conversation. But as a backup, one might also ask, would the steamship be willing to provide on top of one of its buildings, a site for a station in partnership with the town of Falmouth and the health board, for example. So I did make a few calls. 2 vendors responded, and I've spoken with both of them at some length. The price range is between $20,000 to $60,000, it seems, for the purchase equipment, and then actually the support seems is $1,000, or it would be a smaller sum each year to support at some point they need to change the sensors, or there's some kind of renewal procedure they do. So I was going to leave these 2 quotes with Scott, or with the chair, and we're interested in your thinking about moving forward, given that the purple air sensors are helpful, but I think they're only a first step, and it seems there might be some resources available to options. So that's what I had for that.
So Nat, I got this just this afternoon, but I took a quick peek at it, and of at least one of these quotes, and for sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide monitoring, it was only the equipment's only about $6,000. It's the ultrafines that adds another $15,000. So, so in terms of the gaseous, more smog-inducing, if you wish, that's actually much less expensive than the ultrafine monitoring.
Yeah, I also saw that lower number. There's a higher number for a different model if it's stationary. I think that might have been one of the. We should go through it again. But there are some higher numbers once you get into a stationary.
Yeah, I was looking at the modular versus the modular UFP, and what we should do is we should forward this document, and we can continue this discussion when everybody has a chance to look at all of these.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
Scott, but it's easy to forward by email too.
Yeah, I only had it for a few minutes. Yes, go ahead.
I think purchasing the hardware is almost an insignificant cost compared to figuring out where are the right places to put the monitors and how to interpret the data.
Yeah,
this is incredibly complicated. And air quality monitoring, I don't think anyone in this town, well, actually, I reframe that because of the people in this town, have the ability to do. But I don't think we do, and I don't think we know how to interpret the stuff either. I think this is a huge problem of air quality monitoring and what's responsible for it, and sorting that out, and separating cars and trucks and ferries is going to be really difficult to do. And I don't know that we have the expertise to know how to interpret the information we're going to get.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's a good question, but I'm wondering as well, is more monitoring, how's that going to help us is the question that's in my mind. We have these, they show some pretty big numbers from what I was just looking at in terms of particulate matter episodically, as you mentioned. We know that most people in the town, I mean, I'm speculating, certainly anyone who's along the transport corridors would appreciate less traffic going through town, particularly the fast, continuous traffic that goes with the ferries and the big trucks. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I know this is a challenging problem, obviously, but to me, it seems like we need some very concrete things, like the trash needs to be hauled off by a barge, as was mentioned by this group a long time ago, and having an option of freight ferries, maybe other ferries that would go through New Bedford, so that trucks that are coming and going from the south don't have to come over the bridge and all the way down into Woods Hole. They could go to New Bedford. That would make a lot of sense too. It wouldn't be taking away the ferry in Woods Hole, but it would redistribute some of the traffic. How do we make that happen? Is this a total impossibility? Is it a non-starter with the Steamship Authority? Or I don't know if we need more data. We just know that we don't want it. So let's talk with them about how to redistribute it.
They vetoed every time New Bedford or another port is brought up, the Steamship Authority has vetoed that because they want the money. So I agree with you. They seem recalcitrant. They're essentially autonomous, as I understand it. And so unless we can get them to change, if we don't think we can change their behavior, all the monitoring in the world isn't going to do anything.
Well, I think, one question might be, in terms of any additional monitoring, as to what DEP might find actionable from DEP's perspective. Because you're right, there is almost certainly expertise in town as to how to analyze things in the air. In fact, there is, absolutely. However, it's not aimed at Falmouth, typically.
Right, or the retired.
And so, some of the questions may be that DEP definitely, recommended the purple air. They probably look at these numbers, they generate maps. What did they find might they find particularly valuable about an additional ozone monitor on the Cape, an additional SOx monitor on the Cape? If that would be a question to ask of investing in this sort of equipment and this sort of additional monitor.
But it could be a way to kind of kick the can down the road too, because it might take years to
DEP is not moving very quickly on
data.
this. Yes.
Although to that point, DEP does currently have their network plan out, their air monitoring network plan out for public comment. I don't know if you've seen that. There's not currently a DEP monitor in that area of Woods Hole or even in the Upper Cape area, but it might be time for a public comment asking for that. It's that public comment period. I got this email March 6th. It's a 30-day period.
Okay, so perhaps we as a board could comment. It's not on our agenda for today, but we do have another meeting before the end of the comment period. Do we? Yeah.
Well, it's not part of this agenda item, I guess. Is it separate or is it the same?
I guess it could be part of the same, especially since I'm not positive we have another meeting before. Well, you said when does the comment period end?
It's 30 days, so it would be April 5th.
That's a Sunday. No, that's a Monday.
Could just have two board
Sunday
members
before.
work on it
Was
at
that?
the same time.
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday?
Isn't the town meeting on the 6th?
It's Easter
So
Sunday.
the town meeting's on a Monday.
April 5th is Easter
Yeah.
Sunday, and my daughter's birthday.
Do we have a meeting? Do we have a meeting scheduled before that? Just because I think we could consider it, but we could also think about it.
I gotta remember.
Yes.
March
The
30th.
critical question is what you brought up is there an actionable level of some contaminant that DEP would be compelled by regulation, law, whatever, to
Do something.
actually do something about it?
Right.
And if that was some methyl death compound, then that's what you should get the censor for, because
Well-
that's what they consider their action level.
Yeah, SOx and NOx
SOx and
are
NOx.
carefully
SOx and NOx.
watched, yeah. So,
So-
So at
They
what
do-
level do they say basta enough something's
You need
going to
to,
happen.
something's got to happen, and I don't know the answer to that, that's why.
Well, there's, a couple different like Clean Air Act, and then there's greenhouse gas emissions tracking, which is recently taken a hit, but we can find the answer to those.
Right.
But they differ by the type of entity emitting as well, right? And I don't know exactly where the steamship authority might fall.
Well, we're in the southeastern Massachusetts air pollution monitoring or control district, so, and ferries are explicitly included in that.
Next meeting's 3:30.
No,
Yeah,
next
March
meeting's the end of the
30th.
month, so we could actually get a comment in then. So, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So I'm Doug Brown, Select Board, and just to comment on what good could it do. So I've been working on this for years, trying to motivate the Steamship Authority to take an interest in the New Bedford freight option. They have recently let 41 North have one trip a day. They grudgingly approve things here and there. But overall, you're right, they're very sensitive to the revenue loss. But for years, they've been kind of alluding to the point that it's more of an inconvenience for us here in Falmouth than maybe now it's becoming a nuisance. Recently, it's been framed as more of a public safety issue because the road is so blocked that it's a concern that public safety vehicles won't be able to get through. But I think that if we could really quantify that there is a health element to it as well, I mean, these things are building, and there's cumulative effect to all the different evidence that's being brought forth. And at some point, I think we're going to reach a tipping point, and they're going to have to start to reconsider making Falmouth the only point of entry for freight and service to to Martha's Vineyard. And I'm going to be meeting with the new general manager. I'm very hopeful that with a new general manager, maybe there'll be a new perspective and there'll be an opportunity for more cooperation. So I'm hopeful. And I think it's a good time for us to be able to try to make the best of our potentially a chance to get some real solutions.
Chad?
Yeah.
So I wonder if, it's something else that's come up in these discussions with the SMART team is the hazardous nature of a lot of the stuff that's moving by truck at high speed on a residential road. If one of those trucks with fuel did crash, the level of disaster would be quite high.
Yeah, I've been talking to mariners about that, and apparently those double-lined fuel trucks are pretty safe, and they can roll down hills and not explode. I'm surprised to hear that, but that's generally consensus. Pardon me?
I'd like to say I've seen that not go that way.
Okay. I can imagine that too.
Popping back up.
Yeah, we did have that big fuel spill right at the Rotary, right?
Yeah,
a few years ago.
that's true,
Yeah,
right?
It was a normal fuel
Yeah.
truck,
Tanker.
I guess.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you, but surprisingly, the guys on the ships are less concerned about those things as they are other things. So I was surprised to hear that. Maybe that's only when they're at sea. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So I think we should, thanks, Doug. I agree, I think we should consider a comment, and I do see it as a good use of embarkation funds to add the monitoring. But I think what we should do is ask if DEP would get back to us in any sort of timely fashion, perhaps by phone, ask what they would find valuable in monitoring, and perhaps adding to this network, especially if it doesn't come at a cost to DEP's budget, but it's something that the town is willing to spend a relatively small amount of money on in terms of the monitoring equipment.
Has SMART asked your contact, Allison, do you know what DEP would find actionable? Like what data you could provide that would be something they would act on?
My understanding is Allison's is not with the regulatory side of
She's
DEP.
just facilitating the monitors.
But as she and a couple of her colleagues have pointed out, there's a public outreach educational component that they find valuable that at some point may indirectly become actionable. For example, the steamship recently, over the last 2 or 3 years, has bought 3 very old offshore supply vessels with just terrible fuel use numbers, and we're pretty sure that we're going to be picking up emissions from those larger, older engines. So I think indirectly having some feedback as to what's in the air is useful.
Yes, Scott.
In the conversation that Jed, you and I and Mike had last year, and knowing DEP, for example, if I want to do a noise meter study, I use the meter at DEP, calibrated by DEP, not something that we buy, we install. They're not going to regulate on that number, in my opinion. They're not going to regulate on that number. They need to do it. Now, they did talk about the smoke reader, and these sort of, I would consider it a more antiquated way of doing it, since that regulation was probably written before all these, machines were created. Smoke reading and hiring a smoke professional to read is probably one thing that would help. But in the conversation with the gentleman who was 2 days from retiring, so I felt he was more freely speaking as someone retiring in 2 days. There's no violations down there, is what the first thing he said at the conversation. So, I think the smoke reading is what they're looking at, and looking at opacity and all that fun stuff. But a piece of equipment that we purchase, I don't think DEP is going to buy into it and use it as a regulation.
Okay.
I mean, for George's, okay, so George was on the board since 19 something or other. So one of my first years here is a restaurant on Main Street complaining about the noise from a new exhaust fan put in.
Right.
And to do it, I actually had to drive to Lakeville to pick up the meter, to use the meter, because they calibrated it, make my readings, and return the meter. So it's a little bit more regulatorily controlled.
So the other comment you said he made was there are no violations down there.
He didn't feel so.
He felt like there are places in Massachusetts that are far worse, and it's probably not that bad in Woods Hole. Is that what he...
Well, the wind and the amount of wind and the amount of velocity. He didn't really specify. That was like the first comment that came out of his mouth. He's retired.
Yeah.
It's just, he doesn't see any violations down there. They're not doing anything that would be regulatory that DEP would consider to be a problem. Again, that's a year ago. It's a different person. I'm just, relaying the information. I didn't necessarily agree with him. Right. But if you're looking for DEP to do this, they're really... It would be difficult to get DEP to buy into anything that we do at a local level. That's what I'm trying to say, is just putting that out there.
And furthermore, if we don't want to put too much of our emphasis on this question of do we exceed certain toxic levels of contaminants, because we may not. Maybe that it's not great, but it's not as bad as many other places around that are more urban. And but that doesn't change the fact that we want less traffic. So, I mean...
Well, and better tuning of those engines.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think at that time we were talking about, correct me, the type of fuel was called... What was the fuel that was...
Bunker fuel?
Bunker fuel, that was the word I was thinking of.
They said they did not.
Yeah,
They did not, and when DEP did talk, they were not using it. So that was the other thing that we did.
So our experience is different. When we stand down and observe what's going on at the steamship, we go home after 30 or 40 minutes. We have headaches. I mean, to hear that...
Understood, but I'm not here to defend or no. I'm just relaying the information from DEP, what they said.
I don't know who you spoke with, and how recently they were in Woods Hole. But so there are 56 trips a day in the summer. Those boats are leaving every 17 or 18 minutes. I mean, to think that air would be clean, I think would...
I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah.
You could be right. It could be the air quality. Let's say in the Ted Williams Tunnel is similar, or I don't know what they're measuring. I don't know their world. I'm just relaying that his comments were, and the method of doing it is not buying something that we purchase and then them saying, well, we don't know anything about the calibrations.
Or it might
So that
not be.
would lend towards the public
Right.
comment.
Towards the comment.
And trying to get them
Right.
to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that the Action Network plan?
Fails, then trying to partner with them and figure out how we
Right.
could augment
Okay.
their,
I mean,
Do you want to draft a
some sort of
comments?
response.
And it can be part of our packet next time, and we can refine it and get it sent.
Okay. And before we leave the topic, I'll just also advise SMART that DEP is revising its 1990 noise policy to increase clarity and provide guidance on how they're going to evaluate compliance with that policy. They've published a noise policy discussion document and public content and comment information on their website. They want comments by March 23rd. So if you care to look at that and see if that has anything of interest as well.
Yes,
Hey,
Doug?
just one more thing, if I could. DEP, it's not really fast. You might get to talk to them on the phone this week, I don't know, but I've noticed that things seem to take a while. I'd like to see us get our own monitor, and even if they don't accept the results from that, it might spur their interest to come and do their own thing,
True.
whatever
Okay.
they might do. Plus, it'd be good for us to have a permanent thing that we own that we can see, for ourselves. And I would go with the better quality one, so we don't have to
Yeah.
buy it twice.
Right.
Yeah, and their plan is, like, I'm looking at each of their sites that currently exist is fairly detailed out. We can possibly we can see exactly what they're monitoring at each one,
Was this?
like
which-
ozone, PM 2.5, MET. This is in the document out for public comment.
Oh, okay.
So it does go through each of their, I think, 21 sites or 26
okay.
sites. So if we were going to
Right.
choose
it
to
would
buy
be-
our own, we have a little bit of a blueprint
Okay.
based on what
We
they've
should look
already.
what's worst in diesel fumes. That's what we're talking about.
Right. Right. Well, especially in diesel fumes where they're not operating at ideal levels.
Right, and no emissions
Right.
controls.
They're,
Yeah. We don't have scrubbers in them.
okay, so we have, thank you very much to SMART for, and to Nat in particular for being very persistent on this. And we'll keep pushing at it. So I think we will work on a comment, and we'll look at see if we can give DEP a call and evaluate some of the, see if they have any other suggestions as to monitoring, but we'll try for the DEP monitor, so see how it goes. Okay, any other comments from the board on this?
Just,
Yeah.
do we think that the select board might want to co-sign a comment to the DEP, if we're going to send something to the DEP? And do we think that would matter?
Wouldn't hurt to send it along and say, if you want to. I can't say whether or not the chair would.
Timing is going to be a challenge,
Okay.
because if it's due by the 5th, and the select board is meeting in alternate days from us.
What if individual select board members wanted to sign on?
You might say that during our joint meeting, the select board seemed to express an interest. I think.
Right, we can maybe some phrasing, something that would,
Okay. Just they're a bigger
Right.
deal
Well,
than
we have
we
support,
are.
we certainly have support from, in general, from the town manager, from the select board on this, so, without being specific in the particular request. So just a challenge, timing is a challenge. 30-day comment between us and the select board meetings are hard.
They're
So-
considering the, tomorrow, Wednesday morning, they consider the next agenda.
Right.
If you feel like you want to, then reach out.
Okay. Okay, all right, our next, unless there's anything more on this, our next agenda item is 20 Sally Lane irrigation well variance request.
I'll do this one if you want.
Yes, Scott.
If you notice, the picture I sent, the little X in the front yard is where they're looking to put it, which is, and in the agenda item, I made an approximation of the setback distances because it wasn't to scale. About 35 feet from the property line, and 30 feet from the street roughly, and 35 from the abutter's lot line. And the abutter's lot line, septic system is located in the back of the yard, so I didn't see any issues to not issuing it, as far as setbacks are concerned.
Right, so I'm question, I did a kind of a back in the envelope, if you wish, almost sort of GIS guesstimate. They might need to be 8 feet off the front of their house due to the distance from their own
Septic?
septic.
Yeah, I thought I got more like 50 feet, but it could be a little bit less.
I don't know, I was trying it on GIS.
It's a little,
I also want to note that this is that the house footprint is much larger than this, actually.
No,
But but it's not, it's more to the west, and as far as I can tell, their deck may actually be covering their septic tank, but.
Where are they located, Sally?
It's drawn that is partially.
Sally Lane is Acapesket area.
Yeah, it's in between Green Pond and Great Pond.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're going to be getting some good fertilizer water there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But two things, didn't we say on a previous
Yes.
well thing that we were going to always get drawings that showed all the abutters and where? I found this package to be essentially have no information in it.
Right.
And I guess that maybe that X might be, and Scott, this is not your responsibility. This is the responsibility of the people who sent this. And what the heck is this?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, and then they sent a picture of their septic system.
No, it's a neighbor's septic system.
Oh, well then, even more helpful.
So normally, if I'm not on, last week I took some vacation days last week, I would draw this out a little bit cleaner.
But you shouldn't have to draw it out.
Well, so what we could do is you could require them to hire an engineer to do, or a surveyor to do a full thing. That's, what we're trying to do is save the homeowner money, is we're taking whatever we have for a plan and helping them out with a plan.
But couldn't we just require them to go onto the GIS and print out, like, spend a couple minutes and figure things out?
Yeah, we took this one in when I wasn't around, so normally I would have,
Kevin?
I normally cleaned it up.
Am I misremembering, or did we vote to let Scott do these on his own?
I don't remember you doing that. I looked around, I could not find that.
Why don't we?
No, what we did do is start describing what they needed to submit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was not this.
It was,
Right.
right, it was
Right.
one plan with the neighboring
Yes.
properties,
Yes.
significant
And
features,
distances.
wells and septic
And
systems.
Yeah, so this gentleman will just need to hire an engineer to do it for him, because he's an elderly gentleman, I think, and he's, he won't maybe not be able to do this. He may or may not be able to, so you can just hire somebody to do it for him.
I'm just going to motion to continue it till we get some better information.
Second.
I mean, I was able to, I think, figure
Well,
it out.
they don't,
but-
since the X is very vague and it's not, I think it's too close to their own septic system, and without telling them, having someone here who can say, this is the area in which which it's okay to put a irrigation well, rather than sort of waving their hands and say, because, anyway, so we have a motion and a second to continue this. Are there any comments besides?
I'll just make some comments that, obviously this is a pre-95 code system. There's probably in the neighborhood of pre-95 code systems, and there'll be a lot of upgrades that are going to start happening if there's no sewer down there. Is there going to be sewer down there?
Eventually.
My crystal ball says I hope so.
Eventually. So I think we just need more information, because we don't know who has really done their septic systems in that area, whether he's really close, whether he's up or down gradient from one. There just isn't the information that we all agreed, I think, at one meeting that should be on the plan.
Right. And since this is an irrigation well and not,
Nobody's going to get dehydrated while.
nobody's going to get
figure this out.
dehydrated. And nobody's, it's a nice to have, not a need to have. So, all right. Scott, that's some guidance for you. All in favor of continuing? Aye. Okay. All right. We're almost on time. System monitoring performance and data continued from the
Okay.
last set of meetings.
I handed out to all the board members because last time we discussed what the strategy is going forward, and if you remember correctly, it was how are we going to deal with the 350-plus legacy systems we have out there? And quite a few of them are out of compliance, never been in compliance, and we want to slowly rein that in. So what I have here is for your comment, a letter that would go to all of the operators of those systems. And on the following 2 pages, I just gave 3 examples of the filter that I put on the county's database to figure out how many systems under that particular operator, the operators up in the title, are in compliance or out of compliance. So my proposal would be for all the operators to send this out as we start to arrange a meeting with operators to find out what all their problems are out there, why they can't get compliance, whether it's homeowner, whether it's technology, whatever it is, when we do meet with them, we can have this, but sending them something like this, and please review the letter, give me your comments. Sending them a letter like this at least wakes them up and says, look, like the first guy, over 50% of your clients, customers are out of compliance. We're gonna start notifying them, but we'd like you to start thinking about how you're going to bring them into compliance. You will remember that we passed a regulation that when a system is out of compliance, we give a guidance of how to bring it back into compliance. We've seen no real indication that they have, one, read the regulation, understand it, are adhering to it. So I think this is a good way to slowly sort of tighten the noose a little bit, and without saying, hey, we're going to go to all your customers and tell them, you know, you're not tending their systems the way they need to be tended, and we're going to have to start finding you, the homeowner. I think the better way to do it is to say, look, you're the operator, you know what's going on, now you know really what's going on, and why don't we start working together to bring these things into the best performance you can get out of them. So that's why this letter would be good if you would edit it and give me ideas on it. I think there are probably about maybe 12 operators in town that would receive this.
That's all.
Huh?
That's all.
There's not many operators.
Yeah, okay, good.
There's 350 systems, but if you look at, I think it's the second page. You know what I thought really interesting on this is the second graph, second one down. A lot of those are fast systems.
Wow.
And you can see that that particular operator, turn the next page, they're both operating a lot of fast units, but that particular operator, about maybe half of them are below 19. And you look at the other one, and you say, well, there's maybe
The operator.
25% of them are.
Not even.
Yeah.
So there is a difference between operators. We don't know why that is, other than you could be, there's 2 theories. One's you're a crappy operator, you just happen to get the crappy systems.
There's a RUC system that's not working well, and that's assuming that RUC is RUC.
Yeah.
So, George, this is great, and obviously I'll read the letter and provide comments on it. I think we could use, on these, we could use a little bit more text to help people read the
understand
graph.
it.
Yeah.
It will be, with each of these graphs, will be a clear explanation of how they find them. Because I'm not going to identify properties, I've identified their permit number.
Right.
The operators should know the properties, so I'm going to say, hey, for the exact property, just look at the permit number, which you have. The other thing is the blue, anything in blue means that there's a TKN value way above what it should be.
Okay.
Any bonehead would look at that and say, yeah, that's not nitrifying. So now that could be the homeowner, could be using something to kill the system, or it could be just inattentive to pumping requirements. For instance, fast units need to be pumped or they don't work. They won't nitrify. So it could be antibiotics, it could be, stuff they're dumping down their drain. So I'm also preparing something for homeowners that says, your homeowner, you have an IA system, you might notice it is not operating, and here are some of the things you should check yourself, because it's in our regulation that the operator should be doing this. They should be going to the homeowner, getting a list of what they're using, getting their water use to see whether maybe they're just plowing the system with too much water or not enough water. Even in either of those cases, we have within our regulation the ability to figure out what's really going on.
Does this database that you have, that this stuff came from, also have, is that the same database where when they were pumped?
No.
Yeah.
But what it does have.
But my understanding is there is such a database that
There
whenever
probably
a
is
system gets
with the
pumped,
town, but it's not
no?
really in good enough shape.
Not unless we require them all to send them. They don't all go to Falmouth to pump. Most of our wastewater does not go to Falmouth treatment plant to be disposed of.
I thought the people who pumped out septic systems sent a report somewhere, state or town, no?
They can take it here, they
Okay.
can take it off.
Some towns keep pumping records. If you want me to start keeping pumping records, what happened was I'd get a box of cards that says, without addresses. So
Yeah.
the pump card that goes to the pump station when they get a card for pumping, I could have somebody take the cards. They used to give it to us like twice a year, a box like this big. We could go through each card and put in that they pumped on that day.
No, I'm not asking.
But that's,
Okay,
unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. So,
hold on,
okay,
hold on.
sorry.
Time out. I will say that for pretty close to 15 years now, I have asked the town to implement something up at that pumping place, that when somebody brings a load in, that they would have to enter the address that they got it. If it was not a valid address, they would not be allowed to pump up there, and it would keep the record of what they pumped and how much. That would be divine if we had done that. We probably wouldn't be in the mess we're in right now if every town did that at all of their receiving stations, but they don't. So what you will find in the records at the county is if an operator has asked an owner to pump it and they have not pumped it, it will be on that record of that inspection. So when we call an operator in and we say, look, 14 Harry Lane, that thing's been out of compliance for 5 years, and he says, yeah, he could say, yes, and for 4 years I've been asking him to pump every year, and he tells me to go pound sand. What do you want me to do?
Right, okay.
So that would be, for us, a very valuable piece of information, because then we can
Yes, so
actually
the
order a pumping.
the operaters of these systems will
Yeah.
keep track of that because it reflects on their
Yes.
I just thought,
business. Yeah,
It makes sense that a town would have at their receiving station something to make sure that what they're getting into their treatment plant came from their properties. Barnstable, for instance, only takes really Barnstable stuff.
So I haven't spoken with Amy about this until when I first came to town in 18. That's the last time. So, I mean, maybe they got a better system. But we most certainly could, track pumping records. Some towns track pumping records. if you want to do
Well,
that.
I'll tell you what's going to happen once they start, because we're already shipping our sludge off to Rhode Island for burning, and that closes every once in a while, so now we're sending it out to the middle of the state. As soon as that gets so high, the pumping for the sludge gets so high, oh, you'll see the town keep track of it. $500,000 goes out the door each year for pumping sludge to wherever now, New York, central New York. They'll start keeping track of
Waste
it.
treatment plant, okay.
Okay. I think including a copy of the appropriate regulations with
Yes,
this
that would be good.
helpful.
Particularly the guidance.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was actually trying to find them on the town's website.
Okay, so they've been sent to town code, but that takes a while, but they're on our website. And if you
They're on the board, they're on the health.
On the health departments.
Brand new reg.
In the health,
on
if you
there.
go to the health department website, it's there. You send it to town code, but since there was so many changes over the last few years, they're gonna just strip off all of it off town code and put the new one on. So that takes time.
Okay, so ours is on the town.
Ours is
Go to
on.
the health
Yeah,
department
health
page and click on
department.
septic systems, you'll get the reg.
Is that a different page than the Board of Health page?
No,
Yeah.
yes, there's a health
Or-
department page that's got everything that we do.
Right, it's on the left
Fees and
banner.
everything.
It's on the left side.
Okay.
The other thing I would
It's the health
suggest
department.
is perhaps, some softening or some note where it says, please, the paragraph that starts, please review the attached list and notify the Board of Health of the actions you will take to evaluate and correct any systems. Maybe something that says we would be happy to work with you on, in the case of, in certain, I don't know.
Would we be happy to work with them, or would we be happier if they did the work?
We'd be very happy if they did
Much
the work.
happier.
However,
They did the work.
however, there is such a thing as polite fiction. So
Yes.
the Board of Health would like to, no, the Board of Health would tolerate working.
I have perhaps the old school way of sending a letter to somebody you regulate. You give them a date at which
Right.
you want something done.
Yeah.
Because then you can always come back and say, I'm sorry, did you read the letter as far as how many days you had to do this? This is a
No, this is
short
very-
timeframe.
It
It
is.
is short.
And I could say, whatever that is, you give me the number, but never send a semi-pseudo enforcement letter without giving a date certain.
Oh, no, I'm not saying, I think 15 working days is perfectly fine.
So take out the bold and call it good.
Okay, take out the bold.
You think?
why?
I think the bold is.
Or at the most, I was just
Yeah, I
trying
think
to.
the board is.
Yeah, the
bold is
chair.
about-
I was trying
gonna
to-
underline and italicize it. Okay.
No, leave it bold, leave that bold.
I think
All right.
that you do need to draw someone's attention to the fact that they have to respond within a certain
Right,
timeframe.
yes.
And
Yeah, I do, I mean,
I
it's,
thought this was very soft. I mean, I don't mean bad soft, I mean
No,
that it's
I actually
not.
meant it to be soft,
Yeah.
but to give a date
But
in
also-
which
oh, yeah.
you want to
It was
respond.
friendly,
yeah, but also direct.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, given that we're saying it's provided to you prior to contacting the property owners, so that,
Right.
you know, like,
Out of
We're
respect.
not ratting you out.
Right.
We want to work with you to get compliance, because
Right.
that should be the purpose
So
of
say-
any
is
enforcement
that-
letter, is to get compliance.
right. All right,
Yeah, I have one minor edit. This review includes all legacy systems, doesn't it?
Yes.
Many of which were installed when the standards were less. I don't want them to think we're cherry picking a few legacy systems. I want them to know we're looking at all of them.
Yeah. There's somewhere around 350 or so that we have in the town. And you see on those, the one operator, there's got to be 50.
And I am amenable to 21 working days, just in case somebody's on a long vacation.
Sure.
If it just happens that they're gone for 10 days out of those 15, it gets really challenging.
Okay,
121?
21.
21 days.
3 weeks?
Well, 21 work, but he's,
Oh, working days.
15 days is working days, is 3
You're right, I
weeks.
didn't even read working days, you're right.
So then I'm gonna
Oh, my
bold and underline it.
I know, my eyes went right past it once I absorbed the number. No, you're right.
15 working days is
3 weeks,
weeks.
which should be adequate.
So they should be starting to, at least, I mean, I was trying to think of a way to direct them to address each one of them without having to come back before the board. What do we want them to do? I would want at least a note on each one, you know, and maybe
Preferably in
even
one
send
letter.
them something that they could say, you know, address, is there any particular reason why this is
Then-
not in compliance or unknown?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think you should actually say your response should include a minimum timeline for an investigation and corrective measures to restore compliance for
For each
each
system.
individual
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Because they'll just say, oh, okay, so,
I'll
you know,
go
over the next 3 months, we're going to work with each owner to make sure that, no, we don't want anything general, we want something very, very specific.
Yes.
Is it easy, how many operators are there?
It's probably
12.
I would
So-
say 12.
Is it easy for you when you're making this individualized graph, for you to also just print the list of the addresses that are out of compliance?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing I found that can't be, and I mentioned it to the program, the sub guy who was
Yeah.
here. I said, look, if you're gonna be trying to help the towns do something, we need to be able to extract a list of the owners, the actual owners' mailing addresses, and they can't do that right now. I mean, they're in there, and you could get them one by one.
The county
Or-
cannot?
The present data handling system cannot kick that list out.
But if
It
you,
can kick out their permit number, and it can kick out their address, but it can't give me a mailing label for them, which is
oh,
what
but if
would
you
really-
take the list and you throw it into the GIS system,
I don't want to take a chance that that address has not tagged the right owner. I mean, it is possible that this address is really not right,
oh,
but they know.
there's that too. Yeah,
So I didn't want to try to just meld it with our tax records. I want the address of the owner of,
What if we ask them to send us a list of their clients'
Yeah.
mailing addresses? Because they must correspond with them.
yeah, they could do that, but it's in the database at the county, and I figure, you know, as we heard the gentleman come and talk to us about this up, they are now working on the data handling program for that. This, the one I grabbed this
Right.
off of, that's got all the data in it, everything, down to, you know, the shoe size, but extracting it. So I'm working with them to say, look, if you want to help towns do this as a utility program, you should be able to extract addresses from the owner, the concurrent operator, everything should be able, I should be able to pull that list up like nothing. And we
Yeah.
can't do that now, but they're working toward it. But-
okay, well,
Okay, so I got it. You want a
right.
reference for each individual
Yeah.
system and the graph to explain.
Any idea when they will be ready to start implementing their testing and, you know, management of these systems?
I don't have the intimate knowledge of that, despite the fact that I started that program, but they're just coming up to speed with getting good technicians in the field now. So, to me, I looked at it as the septic utility program could operate one of two ways. The first thing is doing what we're trying to do here, catch up with what's out there and find out who's got the problems, so you know where your lowest apples on the tree are. They have now a field crew of two people in the field. Can't service many systems with two people.
Right.
So I think they're working toward getting more qualified people for that. And again, what they're also doing apparently is doing training sessions to get other people up to speed. Because there's a number of models they could do. They could do it all. They could oversee the people who
Right.
do it all and make sure they're trained and make sure they're doing their job. to me, I mean, the town needs to decide what the model will be. The town could hire people to do them all.
Yeah.
But I think the best model, in my opinion, and it's not the opinion of anybody else, is to let the private industry do it, but watch the private industry, because they have, I mean, who among a board member or a health agent wants to be on the call 24 hours a day? Because those systems, they break at 2 in the morning, and that alarm goes off. So I say the private industry has been doing this for years. They're being a little lax, and all we need to do is tighten that up and get good quality people. If the county does decide to do that, they'll need a good team of, you know, I'd probably say, to do the Cape, at least 15 technicians out in the field that know what they're doing.
And that's just to keep the contractors in line, right?
No, I think the contractors in line, to me, is more an administrative task, because the Board of Health has the authority. If you mail a letter to a homeowner, we mail a letter to a homeowner who, you know, has got a lousy property and their renter isn't here, we have the authority, hey, you want to pay the fines, you keep that going. And that is resolved fairly quickly. And I think as long as you have the information accessible and easily moved around, that's really what a Board of Health needs.
Right, so you're thinking about the
actual
model where the county, the septic utility program is really a monitoring of essentially subcontractors.
I'm curious about either option.
Right.
If they
I
could do
think
the whole job.
One sort of hybrid option is where DEP, I think, will want it to go, is at least that the monitoring be done by a third party apart from just the operators.
Right.
Because that's the problem. I mean, we see data, I just showed you some. You know, some of these look like they really work well. Well, are they really working well, or some of those samples diluted?
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And it seems like the operators are the installers, so they're probably constantly busy with the next installation.
Operators are operators.
It's different.
Right, different.
I don't know any, well, I know one installer who is an operator, but he doesn't operate in the town.
Interesting.
Right, yeah, no, typically it's different.
Yeah, it's a whole new thing, because installing is kind of a piece of cake dependent, as opposed to getting out there and actually making sure the system's working the way it should work. And every technology by the code, and by their approvals, has to train people to do their particular unit.
So what would be the, I'm sorry, I'm not really clear on it yet, maybe you could just remind me, what would be the interaction between the septic utility program operator and the town? And would the town contract with the septic utility operator?
It could go a number of ways. The town could say to the septic utility, look, we want you to make sure all our operators are on track and you're doing the monitoring. You could do it that way. The town could say, hire who you need to take care of the 350 systems in Falmouth, and you do it.
Mm-hmm. And when you say the town, really, that's you guys, right? Would you be the?
No, it's the people who steer the money.
It would be a septic, it would be like a sewer utility, but a septic utility. So it would have to be I mean, I could see it as a different, since we're talking about scaling up to, it could be 2,000 systems that need monitoring or more, hopefully not, but.
It could be 7,500 or more.
It could be a lot of them, in which case we really would need a separate utility akin to the sewer.
It would be like a wastewater treatment
wastewater,
plant.
yeah.
Because every one of them, you monitor these things, and you have to be a grade 4 treatment plant operator.
Yeah.
That's by law, you have to be that.
So yeah, it becomes like I think, the scale that we've been operating on and that Cape Cod in general and Massachusetts in general has been operating on in terms of IA systems, and essentially having them, onesie, twosies, tensies per year. We are up to 350, but when
Cape's up to 3,000.
that scaling is not something I think that we're currently set up to handle. We're currently set up to really effectively monitor, as, you know, we're only fortunate because George, I mean, I don't think any other town really has got a handle on it.
They're not really, the only reason we're moving this fast is because I can see where Falmouth's going. It's gonna have a treatment plant, it's gonna have a lot of IA systems. And the worst thing we want is a lot of IA systems that aren't working.
Right.
So, but there is no town that is going to have more pressure, I believe, than Falmouth, because you've got 14 watersheds, you got all those watersheds to deal with, and there's going to be a lot of IA systems out there. The homeowners are going to have to come up to speed, all the operators are going to have to come up to speed, if it's a meaningful program.
So I guess we
And
got,
DEP is going to want trust but verify. They're going to want verification that these things are working.
You know, in terms of, like, the original, I mean, you know, in terms of monitoring or spot checking or things like that, like the original plan that John Waterbury, or maybe it was you and John came up with for doing a random.
Yeah, it was a
random statistical sampling, could save us a ton of money.
A lot of money.
Could save the homeowners a ton of money.
Right.
yeah.
So there are options, but I think, as we've alluded to, the DEP moves very slowly, and I think we're going to have to keep the pressure on them.
And I feel like I don't really have a solid grip on when it's time to make the move to hire the septic utility.
Well, that's what, we're looking now, what I feel like we should do is do as much as we can administratively to get the industry to do the work that they should be doing. And then that will show you where you need to either increase or say, oh no, let the industry take care of it, and it's mainly an administrative task, and you may hand that over to the septic utility. The whole idea of tracking, when it was first envisioned back in 1999, was to track them, make sure they work, and if the town wants to take those back, fine. If they don't, contract with the county or somebody else to track them. But there's no place in the state that they're tracked like in Falmouth and the rest of the Cape right now. There just is no place.
But in terms of a timeline or thinking about this, I think it's the sort of information that would be necessary for a full watershed plan.
Yes.
So I think
That's going to set it. If a watershed plan is submitted with IA systems in it, DEP will then bang that around until they tell you what you're absolutely going to need. That's why John and myself were out saying, you got to give them a straw man. They're not going to do it any other way. They're going to have to beat that thing up.
Right.
But
So
tell them
first-
this is what you want to do. They'll come back and say, oh, no, that isn't it. Well, tell us what it is. We have to
Right.
trim this. Do we have to add more monitoring? How much do we have to maintain these systems?
Can we
Once
do a
year,
random monitoring?
Twice a
Right.
year. Can we do it this?
And in a parallel path, try to fix the ones that are in the ground.
Right. Well, we're going to do ahead of time.
Get as much data as possible.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, we're going to get these addressed
There are a lot
starting
of
the
people
next
put
3
in
weeks.
technologies in good faith that they thought would work. And DEP in the present, and that regulatory climate allowed that to happen. What we need to do now, because they're going to be trying to get us to get the maximum out of all of the systems, is from this day forward, you heard it tonight, less than 10 is the standard. But from this day backwards, 19 was the standard and it barely got met.
Right.
So we need to go back to those and work with the people who say, look, if you can't make 19, what can you do, the best you can do? Because these people put these in good faith. Some of them did it because of an advantage they got, an extra bedroom or whatever it was. But many of them are thinking, gee, I'm doing good for the environment here. We want to make sure that their operators are making sure they are. Because the present way they were doing it is just, it's somewhat haphazard. Nobody was watching them. So when no one watches you, what do? You pound that pedal down a little bit more.
And so this is a letter to the operators.
Right.
Yeah.
This doesn't turn effective, then you'll go to the owners.
Yes.
And say, if what you have isn't working, maybe you want to consider this
Yeah.
septic utility program, or is that?
No, maybe you want
Different
to,
an option.
maybe
Switch
you want
operators.
Yeah.
to change your operator or find out, or maybe it's something you're doing in your home.
Right,
Right,
Okay, thank you very much.
yeah.
And so when is our first watershed plan due?
I don't know. I haven't heard from Amy when it's due, and I heard they were going to submit more than one at the same time.
Yeah.
I thought we did have a timeline.
4, I think.
There's a timeline, I just don't remember.
The first 4 or 5 rollout.
I can't remember. off the top of my
Yeah.
head.
I think it was 2 years from last year, so it's,
it's at the end of this year, but I'm not really sure.
yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So they have to, they're soon.
So this is,
Soon.
I mean, so timely, George, that you started this ball rolling, because I think it's going to be, our meeting with these operators
Yes.
is going to be really helpful to inform sort of this process in general, how
Right.
effective, how
Right.
many of these operators are also trying in good faith to make systems work and
That's
not
right.
succeeding?
And
what does
maybe
that
they
say
need,
about
maybe they
our-
need help from us, like
Right.
lean on the homeowner, say, hey, no, you said 440, you're doing 800 gallons a day in that.
But we're doing all our watershed planning, assuming systems are meeting,
Yes.
That they're working properly.
that they will work properly.
Right.
Right? And if we're
Right.
seeing that 75% of what's in the ground right now isn't, then our planning is
But what we
potentially
may
off.
have
Right.
going for
Right.
us, we may have going for us that the new systems that have been certified as Bannert will be much more
And
reliable.
they
hope
have
so.
been shown, the data
Yeah.
so far
Yeah.
show
Right.
that they are doing.
So
good.
we're looking at 350 here, but over the
Right.
next 10 years, we might reach 10 times that number. So really, that meeting with the operators, what we talk with them about going forward is maybe more important.
Yes.
I mean, we
Yeah.
want to get the legacy systems in the best condition we
Tidied up.
can, with the knowledge that probably a few of them will never work well.
Yeah,
But what happens with the thousands that are coming is far
Right.
more
right.
important.
We need to set the
How do we
stage for
gear up?
those.
Yeah.
How many of those open
Just
ones?
on the letter, the only thing, paragraph 2, I don't know what you plan on sending them, but, so does the attached identify all legacy properties for
No,
which?
the attached is only, what they will receive is only their system.
Yes, so it's all legacy for which your company is, so I would just add, and then in the second sentence, is there anyone who doesn't have any failed systems of the 12?
Any of them that have
Do
no
any of the
operator.
12 operators that has all of their systems working?
Oh, no.
Okay, so then the second sentence ought to say, the data also indicates which of your systems are not meeting the standard.
Right, that will be described on the page that will have their graph.
Right.
Yeah, but I just,
But he's saying make it more specific.
Specific.
It's a little vague.
yeah, I was very confused by.
One or more might not, but really
Yeah.
what we're saying is 10 of them definitely are not, right? So,
But don't put 10, because then you have to write 12 different letters.
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Just put-
Yeah.
The list shows also which ones are meeting
I
the
can
standard.
probably reference the graph at that point.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Say anything above the red line on the graph,
Yeah.
which is, that's what it's for.
And is section 15.0, does that also have?
See, I couldn't find our regulation.
Okay,
or I
whatever,
would've put
well-
the exact citation of.
Yeah, whatever it is.
15.89.
Does that also include the suggested list of things you ought to do?
I think the suggestion was to actually send them a copy of the regulation.
But you said that there's also a menu of stuff that ought to be done is that in the
That was the
regulation?
reference I was looking for in that paragraph.
Well, I mean, but honestly, leaving exactly what they should do a little vague lets them, as Class 4 operators, they should know how to
Okay.
do this.
That's
is what
fine.
it comes down to.
That's fine. I was just trying to.
No, I understand what I do understand, but it's
That's
okay to
fine.
be,
Yep.
I'd rather be nice and succinct in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with this, sorry, with this, we are not setting up the meeting.
No,
Right, that
I
was my
thought
other
that,
question.
You're right.
I thought you were already setting that up,
Is the
Scott.
meeting first and then this?
This will go, doesn't matter, this I hope will go ahead of the
I would-
meeting.
Ahead of the meeting. Okay,
I've
so
only
we
gotten a
should reference
I'm
the
just going to
meeting.
set it, I've only gotten a couple responses, so, with nothing concrete, so.
So if
let's-
you've sent it and you've only got a couple responses, when they get this, there'll probably be a few more responses.
So with that, do we want to end this with a statement that we have been in touch with you to set up a meeting with all 12 operators in the town of Falmouth to discuss the plans, the approach going forward as the number of IA systems grows substantially.
Okay, so as
Something
you
along those lines.
know, we've been in touch with you about this and have been seeking a meeting with all of you to talk more broadly about ways in which this program is going to move forward.
Yeah, please let us
That's right.
know which of these dates, please let the
Do we have
health agent
dates?
know which of these dates will,
We haven't gotten that far.
well,
Okay.
anyway.
Okay,
Right,
Yeah.
just, yeah, you don't have to put dates on there.
And then otherwise, the letter is, I don't have anything else on the letter, but I would say on the graphs,
they'll be,
my eyes
That'll be
are old
better.
enough that
Yeah.
I can't tell
they
that's a
will
red
be,
line.
they will be large, there'll be a red line.
Okay.
I just didn't want to blow all the
Gotcha.
paper and make
Okay, all right,
page
all right.
graphs.
Okay,
Okay.
But each operator will get only theirs. Thank you.
Yeah.
okay. So would we like to vote to have this?
Next
set?
meeting, I will have a template.
Okay,
And this
that's
is
fine.
what is they're going to.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
Okay.
All right. All right. Our next item, we're a few minutes late, the Short-Term Rental Bylaw Article 17 Town Meeting continued. Just as a preface, I talked with the chair of the short-term working meeting group. Short-term rental meeting group, I went to their meeting on Wednesday, and I spoke with the town manager, and Scott went to all of these. I know, however, that the board's the board is less interested in the particular role that we have been assigned in here.
Select board?
No, the Board of Health is less interested, based on our discussion in the last meeting, and in fact, from a discussion in October, prior to last town meeting. October? Yes, October. And given that how, let's just say that several members of the short-term working group were not, rental working group were not happy with that particular attitude, maybe, I'm not sure. And so we are in, currently, the Board of Health is referenced in a number of different places in this article. And I think we need to continue thinking about what we feel appropriate. While the short-term rental meeting group was, several people did not want this amended. It's going to town meeting, and so it can be amended. So.
Remember last time the board decided to submit draft statements that we might consider?
I think
you were the only one who did.
one
I
submitted one.
wrote one and I held it back pending this discussion.
Okay.
I thought yours was pretty good, so I didn't.
Yes, Doug, go ahead. Go ahead.
I felt the door.
Okay.
Doug Brown, and I was the chair, I am the chair of the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee, and Liz Klein is here with me. And so we did get your letter. We understand, and I followed your agenda here, and I watched you guys tonight, and I see the myriad of things that you've been working on, and a lot has been put on your plate in recent years, and I certainly understand the reason why you feel like you really don't need one more thing to do. Certainly understandable. When we started this committee, actually, when we started the working group last year, we were thinking about exactly that fact, that you guys have a lot more stuff to do. You got watershed plans, you've got Title V septic changes, and certainly understand the workload. And we were trying to explore ways to have this general bylaw under the purview of the town and maybe the select board or the building department or any department, and see what could work best. But the bottom line was, with town council, rentals are under the purview of the Board of Health, and this is where it belongs. And she made it very clear that legally and, for regulatory correctness, it's where it belonged. But we've thought all along in terms of trying to lighten the load and not be impactful to your weekly meetings. And I think if you look through and look at all the broad language about any inspections could be done by either the fire department, the building department, possibly the Board of Health or the health department, but there's a lot of flexibility there. And the real hope is that we're not going to be putting a lot more work on your plate. I can't say because it's new, so I might be wrong. There might be something that comes out of this that might come before you. I don't really anticipate it, but when it's something new, there's always something that's unforeseen. But I'd like to just mention some of the key elements of what we're trying to do here. The first thing is it will create a new party, the operator. Right now, we don't really have that. We just have somebody puts it online. A lot of people put these things online and don't even check who's coming or try to figure out if it's an appropriate group for the house. Some of them are automatic book. You just go on and you click and you take it, and you might show up with 8 or 10 people to a 2-bedroom house, and they just squeeze in and do whatever they want. So this is going to require an operator that is hopefully more interactive with the people that are coming, and make it clear if you got a 3-bedroom house, it should probably be only 6 people. It's going to be, as always, it's only going to be a complaint-driven type of thing. So if somebody wants to come and bring 6 people to a 3-bedroom house, but maybe bring a couple of kids that sleep on a pull-out cot, I don't think anybody's really going to object to that, and I don't think that's the kind of thing that we're trying to target. And if it's not a complaint, it probably won't come up. I'm not encouraging people to not follow the rule of the law, but the reason that we have that 2-person per bedroom is so that there's some parameters. So if there is a complaint and the police show up and there's 17 people in a 1-bedroom house, they have something to go on, and they can say, this is not within the parameters of this type of bylaw. It's been pointed out to us that a big problem when the police respond to these type of situations is that the people might have a party on Saturday night, the police show up, ask them to quiet it down, they leave, maybe they quiet it down, maybe they don't, but by the time you find out who the realtor is and try to find the responsible party, most of the time the people have already left, and you're just waiting for it to happen again the next time, next week, next month, who knows when. So we feel it's really important to have this operator that's going to be responsible to take the phone call at whatever time of night, and the postings that are in the house are also very important. I know one of them is the Board of Health, only because it's the regulatory requirement, but the other ones that are going to be required that'll be there, the operator, the police, the fire department, and there's going to be a lot of information that's put out to the renter as well, as not just requirements, but it's going to be hopefully beneficial to both sides. So I don't want to talk too long, but it's an important part of this is the management of it, rather than I can't. I can't call on him.
He's not looking at me. It's okay.
Scott, go ahead.
I think one of the things that both groups are maybe a little bit different is that the housing code and all the codes for public health is for the occupant's safety. I think the committee's looking at it from the nuisance end, okay? What does the neighbor think about the short-term rental next door? So the regulation, people looking at it on one end are thinking about, how's this going to affect me, and do I have to be loud noises at night? We as health agent, or me as health agent, and George as well, is we're looking at, is it safe for the occupant? And the reason my whole point was long-term rental is far more important from an inspection standpoint than short-term, because one thing that's very key to a short-term that they can't do at a long-term, they can go home, whereas long-term is their home. And so from a pure public health standpoint, getting into long-term rentals and being able to inspect and taking complaints on that is absolutely much more of a priority than, I'm going to get in trouble for the inconvenience of what occurred on a Saturday night to a neighbor, okay, because there was 15 cars there. That is far less than rental units that I've had in the last year, apartment building, business offices being used for housing. Well, there's no kitchen, there's no shower, there's families living in there, gas grills, that kind of stuff we see. That's from a public health standpoint, I'm going to just say it, and if they ask me at town meeting floor, I'm going to say the same thing if it's asked of me, is that I think from our perspective, the short-term rental and my fear is this routine, we got a bunch of bodies going in and out, inspecting short-term rentals, and from a public health standpoint, that is very, very low on the priority list. And the complaint follow-ups, it's an inconvenience. I get loud noises and stuff at night. But again, from a public health standpoint, when it comes to housing, we already have the housing code, which tells you what temperature the heat has to be at, what temperature the hot water and all that. So I think again, speaking for the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we're just looking at it from a different area. We already have the housing code. It's like 35 pages long, what to do. And so that was kind of where I think me going to both meetings, hearing your end and hearing my end, is so I think where we're a little bit different.
Well, I think this helps on that too, because we are saying you need to have smoke detectors, you need to have all your.
But I'm only going to be able to check that if I inspect it. And
well,
so that's where.
They're going to have to attest to it as well.
True,
And
yeah.
so there's a lot of different levels.
Go ahead, George.
What I don't understand about the bylaw, it seemed like it's focused on, the occupancy, loud parties, neighborhoods. When I go into a restaurant, I can tell how many people should be in there because the building department has a certificate that says occupied for X number of people. I don't see why for rental bylaw, short-term rental bylaw, you wouldn't just, when they came in to register, have that certificate put right on the back of their door. So when the police show up, they say 3-bedroom house, has to have no more than this many occupants. I think it was 2 per bedroom. And if you have twice that number of people on that property at any time, the police can act. There's a little thing saying that's the maximum people can be on the property at one time, because that's defined in here.
See, if you came to our meeting, you could have suggested that. We would have had it in there.
As far as the inspection, though, I mean, the problem with a housing inspection, if we go there because there's some housing complaint, we can't just do that look and say, oh, there's too many people here. We have to do a full Chapter 2 inspection.
Sure, I certainly understand that.
And if you were here during some of the meetings where we have to deal with the Chapter 2 inspection violation, you'd see it isn't one meeting. It's 3 meetings and threaten to go to court and $250 a day fine. Somebody pays it. The town made a lot of money out of some of those violations that we had. They take a lot of time, and then somebody has to go to court to say, okay, because an owner can just stall. And he'll lose his permit, that's fine, but you're going to tie up some personnel here. We actually asked the town attorney one time, look, we're levying these fines, which are $200 a day, and people would pay them, but we realized that was only to get them in front of us, to get them to do the thing. We could not even charge for a fine that which the town used for our inspector, which we said, okay, say $75 or $100 an hour. we've reduced your fine from $10,000 down to $2,000 because we spent 20 hours on this. We couldn't do that. So all I'm saying is, inspection under Chapter 2 of the State Sanitary Code is always implied. Anybody can call for that. But once we go in to do any inspection, then the town's liability is your inspector went in there and they missed the fact that the hot water wasn't there or the heat wasn't there or 3 screens were ripped in the middle of the summer, because that's a write-em-up violation right there. So I think it could have been handled like pretty simply. You put the occupancy up there like you do for a restaurant. It's on the back of the door with the owner's name and the contact name. Call it a day. But once you start to really issue a certificate from the Board of Health, I believe the town would open themselves up.
I'm not
to
sure we are
liability.
getting a certificate from the Board of Health, are we?
Well,
Okay, so right now, sorry, go ahead, John.
the certificate or the registration would come from the Board of Health, and there would be a fee associated with it, I'm imagining,
It
right?
would be a fee.
So if I
And
may.
once you take a fee for a ticket, there's an implied warranty to that the town has done some sort of inspection and said it's okay, and that's more than smokes and fire.
And despite what the assistant town council said, I think that it is part of our duty to think about liability to the town, so.
And
I just was going to add to George's point there about the level of work for this board and particularly for the department of any violation in a rental. It takes a long time, and right now, all that's happening is inspections based on complaints. If they were to be inspecting as a routine, all of the short-term rentals, this whole thing would be just clogged up.
Well, that's not the intent.
Okay.
It's, so, yeah, I mean, it's not, it isn't written in here that everything would be required to have a health inspection.
Correct.
It would be possible to have like a video inspection that a subcontractor would review.
You could require everybody to have, as part of their application, an inspection by a registered sanitarian. You could do that.
You could also
Home
have
inspectors that do real estate.
Right.
You could also have the homeowner attest that smoke alarms are in place and it's a habitable space and no non-habitable spaces shall be used.
I think we need to step back first. We already have a rental registration. We already register them. We do nothing but just register them. This basically does a little bit, it's an enhanced version of the same thing we already have.
Right.
But as the board, what you've clearly stated from the past is that that's an implied warranty without an inspection. You're giving a certificate without doing anything for it, other than reviewing the paperwork or whatever they filled out in their application. And I think that's where the problem was a couple of meetings ago, or when we first talked about this, is we're not having a more robust program other than the registration portion.
Well, I have actually identified another portion of this. But
Before we move on.
before we move on to that, yeah.
I just wanted to say, on the inspection side, the only inspection that's actually required is by building officials, right? The smoke detectors, based on the guidance, the smoke detectors do have to complete an inspection for short-term rentals. So that
So
would be
if
very
it's
separate from the Board of Health.
non-primarily owner occupied, it
Most-
needs to be annually inspected
Yeah.
by the building commissioner
Right.
or building officials.
You're talking about the state document.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah,
state,
Yeah.
this is a state requirement.
Exactly.
What is, in addition from this, and I do want council to look at this more carefully,
Right.
is that the other issue with this, which is in that box on page 4, is if it is a primarily owner-occupied dwelling,
Right. Sprinklers,
it would have to be required to have a sprinkler system.
right.
If it's a, being used as a short-term rental, it says, see, this is the problem. They use the phrase short-term rental lodging houses.
Yeah, well, I think,
And so the problem with that phrasing is that, do they mean short-term rental, or do they mean lodging houses? Because lodging houses are something else.
But they.
I think they're
have
saying
an
any-
and after that, there's more.
Yeah.
And dwellings and accessory spaces, which began being used as short-term rental. Oh, that's also lodging houses. You're
Yeah,
right.
so
They use
the
it
challenge is that lodging,
Right, lodging houses.
I got into this today, now I know a lot more about this, but lodging houses are rented to 4 or more people.
Separate entities.
Presumably,
You
it's
don't even
implied,
need
the
the
implication I saw is that it's separate. It doesn't say it that way. Whereas typically a short-term rental is rented to one individual, however many people that individual may bring along with them.
Right.
So, no, the challenge that I see in this actually is for the bylaw is under violations. And it's the fact that we're going to get a lot of complaints about the number of people, the noise, the nuisance, the parking, things that have nothing to do with health.
Right.
It seems
That's the
that
hard
this
part.
is going to be, the complaints are going to be received by the operator. And if they resolve them in a timely fashion,
But if
that's
they
the end of it.
don't, they
But the
come
complaints may be received by the operator, but because explicitly the Board of Health, an email address for the Board of Health, where the renter may file a complaint, that's one thing, but we know that the complaints are going to be coming in, nuisance complaints and parking complaints are coming in from the neighbors, and they may go to the operator, but they will also come to the Board of Health. Now, we may also just say, well, we're not going to investigate most of these.
But there's also the, like, issues of corporate rentals and too many, too much reduction in stock, these issues that are also not Board of Health, but are the objectives of this
Maybe the
article.
most important objectives.
Right, they may be, but they don't fall under Board of Health.
Right.
And
So,
I'm not sure how we can
well,
deal with
one,
those violations.
we could also just
or
designate the building
recognize them.
commissioner to deal with it all.
Write a regulation that says the boarding, the bill.
the biggest,
I mean, we could.
I think the biggest result
That's our
is going to be that if they are having problems and the operator can't maintain the unit, they're going to lose the license to have it, and it's going to revert back to residential year-round rental or something else, or be sold, or who knows what. But they're not going to carry on if they have continuous violations, and that's where the license gives leverage.
And the license is going to be issued by the Board of Health?
I think it's just going to be a registration, and honestly, there's still more details to be worked out, and it's right now more of a registration program to try to get a better handle on it and put a prohibition on corporate ownership, because, we're lucky we haven't had a lot of corporate overrun, and when we first started working on this, honestly, I thought it was going to be more. Turns out it's a very small percentage, and it's just regular folks in town trying to make a few bucks on a side thing that they're doing, and we want to preserve that revenue because it's a couple $1 million a year to the town.
Right.
Right now, these things are not technically legal unless we create a bylaw. So if we had one test case, like we've had on Nantucket and a couple of other towns, everyone in town could be prohibited from doing it. And I think it's an important part of our town's revenue source. So I don't think we want to really completely eliminate it. I think probably some people do, but I personally wouldn't think that's the best idea.
I mean, does this bylaw, this is still commercial accommodations. This bylaw doesn't.
Yeah, but it provides the ability to do it.
Right, but our zoning, is that the other article that I'm missing?
Yeah,
Our zoning
unless it's
prevents
unless there's
commercial accommodations in residential.
all
areas.
zoning, I think all zoning in most towns does that.
So unless this defines it outside commercial accommodations, redefines these, it's still illegal.
No, I don't think so. I think the fact that we created, if we pass this bylaw, I think it makes it a legal use because the bylaw enables it. What am I missing?
It doesn't,
Okay, all right.
it doesn't, yeah.
When you said the bylaw would enable it, how does it get decided which bylaw takes priority? Is it the order in which they were passed? So if it's prohibited by zoning,
Unless it's actually specifically allowed by zoning, it's not allowed. You have to have a bylaw or a zoning article to enable it. So right now, it's just sort of happening, and nobody's really objecting to it.
I see. I thought what Jed was saying was that it was prohibited in the zoning bylaw.
It's not allowed, so de facto-
Explicitly not allowed.
explicitly not allowed, right. So that means de facto, it's prohibited because
Well, I
unless
understand. So
it's in a bylaw or in our zoning, it's really not allowed, so.
But what I'm asking is if it's explicitly not excluded in the zoning code, that it says you can't have rental, commercial property, whatever, I forget the term Jed used.
Commercial accommodations.
Yeah, and then in this regulation, it says you can. Then we have two regulations that are mutually exclusive.
No, right now, we have nothing. And so if it's not, how, our Falmouth zoning.
Okay, so it's not
Falmouth zoning says.
explicitly
If you can't find it
excluded.
in the zoning book, or if there's not a bylaw that
Yes.
allows it, it's not allowed. Right now, technically, short-term rentals are not allowed because we don't have a bylaw that allows it.
Got it, but they're
But we
not.
register them, so that's
We
interesting.
register all rentals. It doesn't discern between short-term and long-term.
Yeah, and I've registered rentals, and I haven't been inspected.
Right.
That's
We don't
Tuesday.
have an
We
inspection.
used to have,
Scott will be there.
Oh, for long-term rental?
Yeah, come on over.
yeah.
Were you looking to say?
Well, I was just curious, Jed, I was.
Introduce yourself,
Sorry.
sorry.
Liz Klein, also a member of the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee. I'm just curious, Jed, how your conversation with Mike Renshaw went after our meeting. You were scheduled to meet with him on Thursday.
He was asking me how the Board of Health felt about this.
Okay.
And we talked a little bit, let me check my notes. We talked about the possibility of the possibility of essentially doing a self-inspection and retaining a subcontractor to do that. And using the registration fees to pay for that, which is explicitly allowed in state code. So for the
Explicitly allowed that the operator would pay for it.
that registration fees would go towards inspections or administering inspections. And in fact, it's called out in section 64G.
Section 14 actually says that a town may require inspection. However, the cost of any inspection conducted under this section shall be charged to and solely paid by the operator. So I don't read it that you can collect a registration fee and use part of that. I think you have to charge them for
that.
the inspection.
So you would have to,
explicitly.
that's how you would set the fees then.
So, well, the idea, I think, with the registration fee would be that the town manager is working, Scott, they're working on finding a vendor that can promote and organize the program and do whatever it is that they feel like they need. And whatever those costs are, and whatever staff costs we project that we're gonna need, there's gonna be some staff required, whether it's in this department or some other department, to organize all of this. The idea would be to analyze the costs that are anticipated and use that as the base for the fee, the registration fee.
I'm just thinking through the advantages of having a vendor work through the town for this versus just having it be something
Internal.
that somebody has to happen, just like a real estate inspection.
Right.
As a
Sure.
building inspection,
Right.
when real estate transfers has to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be administered through the town, they just have to demonstrate that they had
That they have
license.
it,
Show
right.
the
Inspector.
certificate that it's been
Certificate is-
done.
Right.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think of it as synonymous, or similar to.
Similar
at
to
least that type of inspection, which a
right.
home inspector
Like
could
a
do.
residential.
Correct.
Right.
But they'd still have to submit that inspection to someone.
Yes, yeah, there would have to be some certification.
Right, and so I keep trying to wrap my head around all the different pieces of this regulation
Yeah.
and who administers them and how. You know, even as simple as during registration, who's figuring out what the entity is that's trying to rent it and whether they're an LLC or an S corp or a family trust.
Determines the bedrooms, determines
Right.
max, and I think whatever's there has to be posted as the capacity for occupancy, and then the maximum that's, according to this, you can't have more than twice the number of people who are allowed to occupy the house at the property at any
Right,
one
so
time.
Right.
So, but we're thinking that's just a
Yeah, that would be a
complaint
posting,
response.
that would be
Right.
a posting, like, you have to post now where to find the owner.
We
The
had a,
owner's information, that's posted with all our long-term rentals.
we had a
right?
question. We had a question about the occupancy limits and how those, whether we could substantiate how those were determined, because you said that's not in the code.
Yeah, what I was saying
It's by
is,
square feet in.
yeah,
code.
chapter 2, the sanitary code doesn't
Right.
say 2 people per bedroom.
Well, that's why we chose that, because it's easier to figure out and quantify.
Until you try to figure out what is a bedroom.
Yes.
It seems really
Well,
obvious.
you could go just by the tax records there.
Yeah.
Well, except we're told when we're talking about septic systems that we can't go by the tax record for the number of bedrooms.
If I may, right now, if there's a discrepancy between, if the applicant says, I have 4, I don't have 3 bedrooms, we walk through the place and count up the
Right.
rooms. That's
But
what we
most
do.
of
That's
the
what we
time,
do now
there's
for
not
housing,
a-
for rentals.
Discrepancy.
We tighten up the discrepancies by actually going out there.
I wonder if that's the right number anyway. I mean, people might want to put their 4 kids in one room, and that seems fine.
Yeah, it does seem fine, but.
I think
mean,
if you
I
look
think
at the
it's 2 plus-
language, though, it does, again, to Doug's point earlier, is that it's not a hard and fast. There's a little bit of vagueness in that language there, because some examples were brought to our attention where maybe you have a really large room and it has bunk beds or something where it's more,
Right.
it's an appropriate use of that space. I forget exactly
Yeah,
how,
well,
but there is
We
some.
talked about softening that language, but we realized we need to have a
Yeah,
number.
I didn't see it soften in
No,
there.
it's not.
No,
We
it's
decided
not.
not to.
Where is it?
We talked
We
about
talked about it.
It's,
decided not to because. we
It's
gotta
So
have
4G.
some
4G.
control.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally that two times the number of bedrooms, you probably could do 2. Commonly is, in other short-term bylaws, is 2 times the number of bedrooms plus 2 is
Oh,
commonly.
you've seen that
but-
before?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very common. But it's not, it is up to, it's up to the town, in fact, it's up to town meeting as to whether they want this or not. So that's not a, if you wish, it's sort of out of our purview. We would
Right, I
respond
mean, it
to
could be a
but
change that's made to make
like
it
I said,
more
it's a
palatable at
personable-
town meeting.
yeah.
Right.
That's a personal opinion, not a health, not based
So
on
2
health.
times the number of bedroom plus 2.
Plus 2.
Just is a little, that would have been a great
As-
thing to add. Unfortunately,
that-
went to the printer before, so.
You actually had that in the previous one from the last time we worked on the short-term rental bylaw.
it does ring a
Oh,
bell.
this is all fixed at this point?
Well,
Well, it's
it's,
gone to the printer. It can be
it's-
amended on town meeting.
it can be
floor if
amended.
somebody
Okay.
comes up with a good suggestion.
So,
Yeah.
some of this discussion here is to see whether or not the board has any changes to our role that we would recommend or think about as amendments. or whether or not we can see that there would be, that this would be the bylaw, and that we could come up with procedures to minimize the impact on the health department and address any concerns we have in terms of the way we operate, address any concerns we have on the impact on the Board of Health's load.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, part of the concern is that we end up with this being a major activity of the health department, whereas, as Scott said, it's not really the most important thing that it should be doing. So, and as I read through the purpose and intent statement, most of the purpose and the intent doesn't have anything to do with public health.
Board of Health, right?
And so I wonder if the health department and the Board of Health could have a much more limited role in which we are the entity that's contacted for problems that relate specifically to public health, of which there are some in here. But the rest of it, I mean, this is, you know, the building department or something, some other entity that's not, so that the department isn't spending a disproportionate amount of its efforts and staff and time on this particular problem.
Certainly agree with that, and, you know, that's why we wrestled with it early on. But the way the state law language is, it seemed like it was the practical way to approach it.
We were also following the model of other communities that have already taken action on this, and those other communities have acted through their boards of health.
So normally this, sorry if I may.
Go ahead.
So normally this falls under the health department. My whole thing was this, is that if 25% of our staff is dedicated nothing but to this bylaw, we're doing the town a disservice. I mean, we don't have a, you know, where's our public health nurse? There's other things I would want in the budget and to be working on. I'd rather do more restaurant inspections. I'd rather make my restaurant inspector full-time before I dedicate any time to a short-term rental. That's just me. I could be completely wrong. You know, yes, we're going to generate more revenue to be able to help pay for this, and that's different from a restaurant. I guess we could charge a restaurant an absorbent fee and have more people as well. But that was just where I was standing. It's like, you know, on the rankings of things, short-term rentals and making sure the neighbors are happy about the noise and not too many cars and all that fun stuff. And the occasional maybe corporation coming in and buying sits here, and the wastewater and everything else is on top of it. And that was just my thing, you know, and I keep harping on it. It's just, we can certainly do it. So the way this is going to work is we're going to hire a company, and with the existing staff, get out an application. The rental company will send that out. The real cost is the 10 to 20% non-compliance, because that's the ones. I just talked to David, who's my new assistant that came from Dennis. They brought dozens to the Board of Health, because what do I do now if you ignore the contact? So the time is going to be on the 10 or 20% that don't comply with the initial 2 or 3 letters. And so do we end up dragging them to court? Do we need a lot of town council's help if we're at the fining stage and the fines haven't been paid? You also get, I don't like to have hanging chads. That's an old reference nowadays, isn't it? And having people that aren't complying with something. So I'm going to be dogging the people that aren't complying, which might be 150 people or homes. And so we'll do the regulation. It's just, you know, again, it's of our priorities. We're going to, you know, when we start the day, we're going to look at what's going on today. We might have to, you know, the rentals are going to be pushed aside first, you know, but sorry about the rant.
So, I mean, first of all, while there are a lot that are regulated by the Board of Health, there's an awful lot in Massachusetts that are also the building department. So, or building division, or, you know, Ipswich, Fairhaven, there's an awful lot that are building. So because of the inspection question. But you know, Scott, one way of addressing this is that we just we can write a regulation or we can change this and just say, look, if you're not in compliance, we'll just yank your permit. I mean, if you don't respond, we'll just pull it.
But to do that correctly, I need to check that they're not doing it. Right? I mean, to really sort of like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, we could pull the permit and hope for the best, right? But we don't know if they're going to come back. Oh, wow, the Board of Health took it away. I'm still not going to change what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm going to have to check on that, you know?
Yeah.
You cannot pull a permit without a show cause hearing.
Yeah.
A show cause hearing has to have findings, then those usually are good for court.
So-
That's how we've done it with housing before.
It's my hope that we don't really get to most of these. I don't think is going to really get to that. It could, and you know more than I.
It would be terrific, so, I mean,
Here's what I'm.
this is just a huge accounting task. Take them in, give them the number of parking spots they need to have, give them the number of rooms and occupancy, all of that, and if this regulation said only one line about the Board of Health, the Board of Health shall investigate all housing complaints and act accordingly in accordance with Chapter 2 of the State Sanitary Code. I wouldn't have any objection about it, but
I would have loved to have
I know what
that.
generally slides down to is a tracking administrative task that ends up being an inspectional task, and then we lose part of our health.
It's going to be more of an administrative task for the vendor to collate all these units and get the numbers. What we're hoping is, and it's my hope really, that we don't get to inspections. We get to, you know, a lot of the building department now, it's the builder attests to a lot of the things in the construction process, whereas in the past we had more inspections. Now, a lot of it is on, you know, you take the personal responsibility to write, I attest that this was built this way, done this way, and the owners can do the same thing, in my opinion. They can attest that the house has functional smoke alarms, that they are saying it's a 3-bedroom house because they know that it's approved as a 3-bedroom house. They are testing that they're not going to use non-habitable spaces like people living and sleeping in the garage or the basement. So I think those.
If the vendor is going to do all of that, verify all of that, or take that information in, that's great. In fact, the main reason, I mean, and I'll speak, I think the board remembers when we discussed this, whether we'd even participate in the committee, I said, we'd love to if the selectmen would commit to putting the funds up to support it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see that. I didn't see that in the letter. I saw, we don't believe this is our purview and we're not coming.
No, that was our
The
minutes from March
discussion-
24th, was that the select board would need to fund the inspections.
That's right.
All right, well,
Yeah.
here we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, here we are. I
It's
mean,
not
I
a
do-
fact, but, so if the references to the Board of Health doing and checking parking spaces or complaints like that are not within our purview. And what really sort of bothered me the most was, as you said, the preamble of our Board of Health regulations usually point to pretty specific. We make the nexus between what we're doing and a Board of Health issue. These are not Board of Health issues, these are neighbors' issues.
I agree.
These are a lot of that, and so then it becomes the Board of Health doing this?
I wonder, so you could have used somebody from the Board of Health to, whenever you started at the beginning, and we probably would be in a better place than we are right now, I think.
Right.
But I think, you know, George just provided some language that specified what the Board of Health's role or the Health Department's role could be that would be a good fit from everyone over here's perspective, which is if it's a public health issue, then the Health Department will inspect and enforce and, you know, do all the things that they do on housing when it's specifically about the housing code, which is a public health issue. And then the other responsibilities about, well, smoke detectors, that's the fire department. You know, public nuisances, that's the police department.
And it's,
Go
the
ahead.
making of more regulations regarding this to the Board of Health. I mean, what other
It
regulations
doesn't
do we
only say,
need?
it says inspections may be done by the building department, or the fire department, or others.
Doesn't,
Yeah, so we could put language in there that says, according to their purview, right? So that the health department isn't asked to do other things that aren't related to public health.
We're hoping not to have to ask you to do anything, but as I said, I can't guarantee it because we haven't done it yet.
I mean, Scott, your example from Dennis, that was a similar regulation.
Yeah, they put a short-term registration in and then went after the ones who ignored, because there's going to be a percentage of those that ignore.
Well,
That's where the time takes. That's
Yeah.
the only ones who can ignore it are the ones who don't use the online platforms, because the online platforms require you to have your state Department of Revenue certificate, and if a town enacts a bylaw and notifies the state that it's been enacted, then the state puts it on a list, and they say, you need to be registered with your town, or else you can't get your Department of
That's
Revenue
handy.
certificate.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you
feature.
can't,
It is.
you will not be allowed to list the rental on a platform.
Right.
So now
Without
the ones
that
that want to
information.
do it, you know, on the side and rent to
Still
your
do it, yeah.
friends and family or whatever, we'll probably never catch them anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's probably a pretty small percentage.
Right.
and there's also language in state code about, I think it's under inns, or there's something to the effect of if it only, certain things about bed and breakfasts and whatever else only apply if it's not family, if it's people other than family out to the second degree. So if it is to family, it's not covered
Oh,
anyway.
well, I didn't mean
So-
specifically family, just that,
Yeah,
Yeah, if it's happening on the sly, it's happening on the sly.
right.
Yeah, I would just encourage, this is now about 3 weeks out, right? I think town meeting is 3 weeks from tonight.
April 6th, yeah.
And so we're really hoping to be able to take this bylaw and move forward, because the group of us who've been working on it for going on 2 years now, I said at the meeting the other night, it feels like you're in the zombie movie and you thought you got the zombie and it's it's behind you again.
Not dead.
Because there are folks in town who are looking for some action on this. People who've been wondering, when is Falmouth going to move forward? Because there was a bylaw that got held so that we could have a more meaningful process.
Right.
And now we're almost 2 years out from that. And to have kind of, Kevin, what you're suggesting amounts to potentially like significant rewriting of something 3 weeks before it's to be voted on after a couple of years of effort. And I do understand and hear the concerns, but I would echo what Doug is saying is that we're really hoping, one, that a lot of this can be done by a third-party group. And I think that Mike Renshaw and the Select Board have indicated that they understand that that will be an important component of this and that that requires money. It's also, if you look through the town meeting warrant, it's one of the only articles that has the opportunity to require any money to come in, right? A lot of the articles in our town meeting warrant involve money going out. And so this one has a money coming in component.
Right.
Although it's probably revenue neutral.
Would be a hope.
We're really not going to try to make
Right.
it
Well, and I mean, I support all of these purposes and intents, just so you know, and I'm happy that this is moving forward. One of our biggest problems is, and you'll appreciate this for exactly the reasons you just gave, is that we're a volunteer board. The planning department is a paid department of professionals, right? And I get that this is messy and it covers a lot of boundaries, or covers a lot of different areas of the town and what gets regulated, but increasing the volunteer board work and shifting focus off of other things is tough.
That's certainly not the intent.
I know. It's
Well-
just, like we've said, the housing
Right.
issues are trickier than you might think.
They're the worst.
They are the bane.
Housing's the worst thing to do, yes.
Yeah, and I
And
absolutely.
I agree, having spent an entire year writing a septic regulation.
Yes.
Like a
Right.
part of a septic
We
regulation.
get it. We do get it. We've written a lot of regulations. It's
Why
time
we left you alone?
It's
Well,
really
that's
hard.
probably the
Yeah, we're
problem,
just, we're
actually,
trying to
so.
figure out, right, how to minimize the impact of this to the health department itself, to the volunteer board,
And
but still like
I want to
support
minimize the impact
ideals.
to the owners as well. We're not trying to make this a huge pain for everybody, but we
Totally
do want to
agree
get a
with that.
handle on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't
Yeah.
want us to go into the next recession and have corporate America come and
I
buy
agree.
up all of our residential
Right.
property
Yep.
for a
Yep.
profit, because we're
important.
not ready.
Right.
So, I
I
mean,
agree with
that
that,
was my
too.
biggest
Even though
concern.
it's not a health-
I took a trip to visit my daughter down, she's in Virginia, we met in Maryland. And so we looked for an Airbnb. And I was scrolling through, and there was hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds on this one corporation that had all these Airbnbs in this whole area around the Appomattox,
Yeah, I've seen it as
it's a
well.
tourist area
Yeah,
for
Yep.
Civil War nostalgia.
right.
And I was like, I came back, and that was like 2.5 years ago, and I came back and I was like, I think we should maybe do something
ahead
about
of
this. And
this.
it's taken us all this time. I started with the planning board, and we got a working group, and Liz was also on that. And we realized at the end of the working group, the select board wasn't really 100%. And we said, okay, let's step back, and we'll take another year and do this with a real full committee, hoping to get more public input. And early on, we did, we got a lot. But the last several meetings, it's been really just us, fine tuning.
Right.
So what's the best?
I think I just close with one thing. The last thing I'll say, that the thing that really sort of concerns me the most is number 13, which is the authority of the Board of Health. Board of Health are designated authorized to implement this bylaw. They are authorized to implement this bylaw. And that's pretty vague. What do we actually implement in this bylaw? What part of this bylaw is public health?
Just the fact that it's rentals. Nobody else regulates rentals.
But the bylaw is not just doing what we do with rentals. What we do with rentals, we do nothing other than register them, one, and enforce Chapter 2 of the State Sanitary Code. That's what we do with rentals.
Well, then maybe we'll
The
put that
state
at the
code
end
is
of
right
that.
there.
Put that at the end of number 13, with regard to what you just said.
If you say, the authority of the Board of Health relative to this regulation is to enforce state, Chapter 2 of the State Sanitary Code, that would be good. But when it's authorized to implement this bylaw is a whole lot more than Chapter 2 of the Sanitary Code that has nothing to do with the sanitary code. So I mean, I'm not going to beat that to death, but
Did we-
that was primarily, I mean, it's registration, it's all the administrative stuff to go with how many people occupy that house, how many parking spots can they use, how many people can occupy the property at any time. We don't have anything to say about that. Sanitary code doesn't, because
Right.
people once in a while gonna have a party. And it's gonna exceed that number that is in this bylaw that we're supposed to enforce.
Right.
So, I mean, there are things in here which have nothing to do with the Board of Health.
Absolutely true.
And do we have any concern about conflict? Council looked at this, right? Council went through and through
She
this?
drafted it.
Drafted it. Okay, because the other thing I'm worried about is provisions sort of 10, 11, 12, specifically 11 and
Yeah.
12, and how those might
Right,
conflict
because-
with our
Any
existing
regulation. part.
non-criminal disposition. Like, the Board of Health already has guardrails on what we can impose for fines for things. And I'm
Because it's
wondering,
it's violation of the order of Board of Health, which is different than
than this.
non-criminal and
So I'm-
civil.
Right, so I'm concerned about the conflict between what we as the enforcing
Well,
authority.
maybe this will be something that's administered in a different way, like the building department or the town manager's office.
Except that we're the only ones.
Except that
with
we're the authority.
To implement the bylaw.
And so, I mean, with due respect to town council, she really missed that there's a lot of these bylaws that are under, that reference, and like Harwich is building department, not Board of Health. So, I mean, and that's just one of the ones on Cape Cod that's building, so.
Yeah, so I mean, I would specifically want to ask her.
So it
If
could
these
go
create a
quietly, it
conflict.
could go quietly right through,
For us.
and maybe the administration will have somebody register all of these and take care of all of that stuff, and maybe it'll never rear its ugly head of 5 meetings while we're pounding on some owner to fix certain things that they don't want to fix. But, you know, so maybe we're worried about too much, but it just, there were so many references to the Board of Health in here, I go, really? That's our purview? That's now in this bylaw?
Could we address it with expanding the authority section to say the fire department has the authority to enforce the nuisance and
Well, it does say that our designee,
Yeah.
and
then we
honestly,
have to write a regulation that designates.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Which
We
that
can-
might be the best.
We may just designate the building department.
To run it all. It's a one-sentence reg.
I mean, this could be modified to be less prescriptive, but mostly what it does is tell the Board of Health to write a regulation, and that regulation might say, the building department will do this,
So
and
the
the police
bylaw
department
points at
will do
us,
that,
and our reg points-
the Board of Health will do the health pieces.
Jeez, right.
Maybe that's,
I mean, the exact regulations, policies, procedures, right, is in here. That's not prescribed necessarily by the bylaw.
Yeah, but all the rest of it is prescribed by the bylaw. So, and if we're the enforcing authority on things that we don't,
Could we make a specific recommendation to increase the authority? Like you said, we'll be the only authority until we can pass a regulation, which is a long process. That would
Yeah, it
bring
is.
someone else in. Could the authority section be expanded, and would that alleviate some of our concerns and potential conflicts?
Scott's got a suggestion.
So when you do this on town meeting floor, you are going to receive the wrath of Mr. Vieira, just let you know.
Who is?
Because you guys were invited, and so we're going to have to make these changes on
Yeah,
town
no, we
meeting
get it.
floor.
Right.
Because it's already gone to print, so, I mean,
Well,
I guess you could mod-
If there's something
if you had a
prepared ahead of time.
prepared
yeah,
written,
yeah.
It's
okay.
true.
You could just
Edited.
drop it all in, yeah.
you could fill in some edits, and as long as you have a printed version to hand out at town meeting and to give to the moderator in advance, it might not hurt us.
I mean, we had a bylaw recently that specifically did that. It said the Board of Health will create a regulation. I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was the plastics.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But then you
It was a-
assigned a designee, right, which was a different,
Yeah.
for the plastics, am I correct?
No,
No.
no, we created a new
Part of-
Oh, no, you're correct.
That was a good
No, you are
year.
correct,
Yeah,
not
the
them.
working
They're
group
wrong.
or
You're
committee
right.
That worked on it,
What?
right?
You had
It
a
was a
working
committee.
group, and you were part of the working group as
Yeah.
the representative of the Board of Health.
That's
The-
correct.
The eventual regulation was done as a regulation through the Board of Health,
Through
Board
the
of
Board of
Health,
Health.
as
right.
opposed to bylaw, but it was worked on like, the
Right.
committee was worked
Right.
on
Correct.
as
Yeah.
an individual.
So
Right, designated by
the
the select
people who
board.
already are very familiar with the issue could be a part of that process.
Some of us can stay on for a second working group to develop the implementation plan.
Yeah, the first one
zombie
was
is
so
not
much
dead.
fun.
Zombie round 2.
3, maybe.
No, if this passes, I'm just running with it. We're going to start hiring that company and just get the business with it. If it passes, we'll do
So
it.
who
And if
figures out
something
the-
comes up and you need to designate, I mean, seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Anything else for us?
Well, so you just suggested written suggestions for
If you
changes?
feel like there's stuff that you
Yeah.
feel like you need to put in,
Fine.
write in some edits on
Yeah,
the,
so like
Right,
the
yeah,
comment
that's what I
about
was trying to.
the authority
If
component.
we think that there's something very specific in this
Right.
that we would like
Help
to
alleviate some concerns.
change to alleviate some of our concerns, then we need to write it down and we need to vote it in the next meeting, which is the 30th, prior to town meeting.
Right, and then someone
But
would
it's
need
gotta
to,
And then,
Stand
as
up.
chair, I'll talk to Dave.
yeah.
And as a town meeting member, I mean, I can do whatever, but, you know, if we have, and we would see if we could make it the main motion, rather, so that there could be amendments as needed, because he only allows 2 amendments from the floor. So we'd have to sort of see how we,
how soon you can do it, though, because
well, we have another meeting on the 30th. So whatever we do, we have to have it done and voted on the 30th. So our next meeting.
Okay.
So we need
That's a
that
good
on our
point.
agenda to vote, to discuss and vote.
So
your recommended
Your recommended.
alternate.
if we, yeah,
If
if
we
we
come to a
choose to, if we come
Come to a
to
consensus.
consensus and they would have to be very specific. We're not going to be waving our hands about something.
And it would be
We'll
helpful
make it-
if you could provide suggested additional language rather than removing language. I think that would probably be more palatable to town council.
It
You
would-
know, if you could add language to clarify that,
Or substitute language that is appropriately clarifying.
Get rid of a period and add on to the end of a sentence, basically.
just saying, you might accidentally take out something that's some sort of substantive legal.
Yeah, we'll have to, we would have to have
Council bless.
things, how are we going to work this?
Yeah, because council would probably want to see it.
And you individually supply stuff that just, yeah, I don't know.
He's
Well,
thinking.
I'm trying to
Speaking
think,
in tongues.
well, I'm just trying to think about how we can get town council to look at this prior to any sort of vote.
Why don't we reach out to her between now and then and say, we're looking to expand the authority section of this to include planning board, police department, whatever.
Is it, would it be
Not
planning?
planning.
Not
Not
planning.
planning?
I don't think so.
Not planning, I think.
Wait, isn't that who you just said?
Building.
Oh, building, sorry, building.
Could you reach out to town council with your ideas and
Right.
ask for some proposed text?
Yes, that's a good way of doing it.
And maybe actually, when you talk to town council, and she'll explain reasons for why some of the stuff is as it is, and maybe it'll allay some of your concerns, but just hopeful thinking.
Okay,
They sent the 2 optimists.
It's,
last clean shot, it's Title 5, not Title V.
Oh, stop it, stop it, stop it.
it's always,
Ignore.
Title 5, not Title V.
It's not a Roman numeral. It's George's favorite thing.
You're
Oh,
victim
my God.
number 28 in the last couple of years.
no, in the last 4 months, everybody puts it as Title V.
Title V.
5.
It's only in a velocity zone, right?
I don't know where that came
I have no idea where they come from. All right, thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
your time working on it. I
Yeah.
really do support.
You can really associate with what they went through with the plastics and all.
I can, I really can.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work and I appreciate it.
Just as a side note, for any boards, any working groups listening, if you have a board that may or may not be involved in something, that maybe chooses not to, but you are developing language that includes that regulatory board, come to the regulatory board. Don't wait for them to come to you.
No, you invited you.
Oh, they invited, but that's very different.
Yeah.
We thought our
That's very different than coming to us.
We are where we are, and I think it can be
Right.
salvaged. That's what it seems like, I hope, depending on your conversation with town council.
Good pragmatic attitude. I'll share, next time I see you, Kevin, I'll share, Frieder's dad has a saying about that, but it's not appropriate for
And I'm not speaking to you two, I'm speaking to the other 2 members who I had a conversation with on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
All right.
All right, let's wrap this thing.
Yeah.
All right, so are we, do people have particular, I will talk to town council, but do people have particular thoughts? Can you share them to Scott?
So
And
you,
Scott will send them to town council.
and you already have the one about authority, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. I think if we open up the authority to others, we're maybe less, I'm less anxious about 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
And I guess, well, violations maybe should be Board of Health or those other, building department or police department.
Can we fine at 300 a day? I thought
Well,
250
that was
our-
my point, is I feel like 11 and 12 might be in conflict with our standing.
250, right?
Right, but then there's also the civil penalty, which doesn't typically appear in
Yeah.
ours,
Yeah.
of 5,000, and I just,
Okay.
I feel
I
like,
don't even know how that ever got by the town attorney.
right. I mean, maybe bylaws just work differently, and we can do that here, but,
Well, you can make a non-criminal disposition of any regulation you have. You can do that, but we haven't done it. I don't believe, what do we have, non-criminal citation for one thing, don't we? Is it stables?
No, stables, they left that original bylaw, it just says stables should be
Right,
charged $5
okay.
a horse. I don't know, I can't think. It's after my bedtime.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, it is late, I'm
I
sorry.
usually have my first cup of coffee by 3:30. Jed, you're not making a good, we've got to work on your time.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I was trying
I'm
to.
just kidding.
All right,
You failed the Rafferty rule on day one.
badly.
I'm just kidding, Jed.
So we have discussion and vote.
To grant the health, so we have discussion and vote to grant the health agent approval authority of flow neutral bylaw referrals. Didn't we already do this?
Nope. you
No,
didn't
I
formally
made the
do it.
motion.
All right,
I'll second.
okay, motion and a second to grant the health agent approval authority for flow neutral bylaw referrals.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, motion passed.
What?
Who made the motion?
George.
George.
Thank you, George.
And Amy,
Either one.
Call the vote.
So to briefly recap this, it did come up with my meeting in town, with the town, town manager, and he said that they're looking into what can be done about the language and whatever else about calling it flow neutral. So
Okay.
he was aware of that as a challenge.
Okay.
My vote is flow positive.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
There was, oh, yes, one last thing which we can talk about in a future meeting, but I just want to recap this. With the town manager, I talked about the short-term rental. We had in January come up with a list of questions for the water superintendent.
Yes.
I discussed those with the town manager. He supplied those specific words from our minutes, and he's going to pass them to the water superintendent, and we'll work on getting either some answers or a discussion with the water superintendent.
Excellent.
it really ought to be a discussion. We
Right.
shouldn't.
It shouldn't be a written back and forth, but let's.
No,
start
I
with-
understand. We're going to
yeah.
start with that, though.
Yeah.
We did send a letter supporting the formation of a working group for controlling septic costs.
Yes.
They're going to be on April 16th, 19th, 13th, whatever their meeting is in the middle of April. They will be forming a charge for a working group of either 5 or 7 people.
Great.
And
Nice
we
job.
should,
That's
right?
excellent.
And we should nominate a member of our
Who could it be?
board to be to be on that. Yes. And then the final thing is that we discussed the mapping of the ponds and the septic systems around the ponds. He and I talked, it would be probably consultant.
It wasn't the mapping of septics, it was was the
Not the
zone of
septic.
contribution.
Zone of contributions to the pond, sorry, that was what actually I have in my notes, but, and he would be talking with the current consultant of the Water Quality Management Committee, who already has done that sort of mapping and calculations for the saltwater ponds to, they were going
plan.
to investigate that as too.
Yeah.
So these are all action items that we've had over the last 2 or 3 months, and it was good to get some additional information on those. If any member of the Board of Health has any concerns about these, we can either talk about them in the next meeting, or you can just email me
Thank you for
directly.
meeting with him.
So
Yeah,
his intention is to have more regular meetings with the chairs of regulatory boards in particular, which
That would be
seems to
great.
be falling, they tend to fall through the cracks. Typically, there are select board liaisons to many of them, but theoretically, it's more the advisory groups that end up having more direct input to the select board in that regard.
Right,
So.
yeah. That would be
Okay,
great.
in the interest of time, I think we'll hold minutes.
Yep.
okay.
Thanks. It's going to take a while.
I'll make a motion
Complicated one.
to,
Is there anything else from Scott, though? Do you have any?
Nope.
no, I
Okay.
was- sorry.
I'm just sending out emails, because when you say stuff, if I don't email myself, I won't.
Right.
Were you going to make a motion there, Mr. Kroger?
Anything else? Do we need to make a motion to?
To continue the
Continue,
minutes.
that's the word I was looking for.
Continue the
Thank you.
minutes?
The minutes?
Yes, we
The
do.
next meeting?
I'll make a motion to continue the minutes.
I'll
to the
second.
next meeting.
All right.
All in
Motion and
favor?
second to continue the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
And
I
then the final
move that
one.
we adjourn.
Second?
Aye, second.
All in favor?
Aye.